meeting has been duly called and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. This board will now adjourn into executive session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act. Texas Government Code Section 551.071, private consultation with the board's attorney. 551.072, discussing purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. And Section 551.074, to discuss personnel or to hear complaints against personnel. And hang on, I think we got one more. 551.076, discussion regarding security devices or security audits. And the time is 5:31 p.m. This board will now convene an open session, and the time is 6:36 p.m. On behalf of the trustees, I would like to welcome you to this evening's meeting of the NEISD School Board. This is a business meeting of the board held in public. We appreciate your attendance, request your respectful attention. We welcome your comments during matters from the floor section of the agenda. If you signed up to speak to address a specific action agenda item, you'll be called at that time. I would like to emphasize that it's the mission of Northeast to challenge and encourage each student to achieve and demonstrate academic excellence, technical skills, and responsible citizenship. Item 5, Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Tehada Middle School, Ms. Martha Reyes.
Good evening, Mr. President, board members, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests. It is my pleasure today to present to you two amazing Timberwolves to share the invocation and pledge. Whenever I think of students who exemplify leaders of the pack, I think of these two students. They lead by being proactive. They are accountable for their actions. They demonstrate high levels of cooperation with peers, and they demonstrate kind spirits in all of their interactions at Tehada. Leading the invocation tonight is Chloe Ross. Chloe is an 8th grade student, and she has participated in band for 3 years and received numerous accolades for playing the French horn, from holding first chair section leader, being chosen for region band, holding a leadership position in band council. Chloe is also a member of the National Junior Honor Society, student council, and is an athlete for volleyball, golf, and track and field. She's also received numerous other awards, such as the 2025 Bronze Volunteer Award, the 3-year AB Honor Roll, receiving 2 Timberwolf of the Month awards in prior school years, and is currently our school's editor-in-chief for yearbook. Chloe is here tonight with her family, her parents, Andrew and Erin Ross, her brothers, Connor and Charlie Ross, who are 5th and 3rd graders at Tuscany Heights Elementary, her grandparents, Bill and Tisa Murphy, and Stephen and Sherry Ross. At this time, I ask Chloe and her family to stand to be recognized. Leading the United States Pledge of Allegiance and Texas Pledge tonight is Cooper Shore. Cooper is an 8th grade student, and he consistently demonstrates dedication to both academic excellence and well-rounded involvement. He takes all honors level coursework and is a member of our National Junior Honor Society. He is also on track for that all-A 3-year honor roll, and he has participated in school band for 2 years as a percussionist. He's also a committed art student, having studied art for the past 3 school years. He is also actively involved in athletics, competing in football, basketball, track, and tennis. Beyond all of his schoolwork, he also volunteers in his community, and he is a proud University of Texas Longhorn fan. He is looking forward to attending Johnson High School next year, where he hopes to play football for the Jags and have the opportunity to participate in the Cybersecurity Magnet program. Cooper is here tonight with his parents, Kelly and Julie Shore, and Sister Peyton Shore, who is a senior at Johnson High School. At this time, I kindly ask Cooper and his family to stand to be recognized. Both Chloe and Cooper are wonderful examples of the students within the Tejeda and Johnson cluster. I thank their families for being part of NEISD and entrusting them to our care. At this time, I ask for Chloe and Cooper to come up to the podium.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to start the first board meeting in vacation for 2026. I would like to acknowledge the NEISD Board for their time and effort to the students in our district, since January is National School Board Appreciation Month. This important recognition thanks board members for their leadership and commitment to public education. They oversee the education of nearly 57,000 students, making decisions that impact all aspects of the district, from classroom learning to financial health. All of these objectives ensure a safe and effective learning environment for the students across the district. Additionally, thank you to Dr. Micah for your leadership of NEISD since 2019. Your commitment to our school district will leave a lasting legacy. Changes upon our district, but also in my life as I'm preparing to go to high school. As I reflect over when I entered Tejeda my 6th grade year, I was uncomfortable with the change. Since that time, I have grown and now have a confident mindset going into the next chapter of my life, which is going to be high school. As John Maxwell stated, change is inevitable, but growth is optional. I admire this quote because we as people always have the option to grow and to live life to the fullest. Blessings to the NEISD board members as they grow forward in 2026.
Good evening. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag and Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pledge of allegiance to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. You may be seated.
Chloe, Cooper, thank you so much for being here. If y'all want to come up to the front, take a picture with Dr. Micah and Mrs. Cox. And Miss Reyes, you can come up here too.
Dr. Micah.
And parents, if you want to snap a picture after Evan gets done, you can come up in the middle and get a good shot. Thank you all again for being here. You're welcome to stay, but you do not have to. So have a good evening.
Thank you, Dr. Micah. Of course.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you. I'll take care. Take care.
All right, we're going to move on to item 6, recognitions, a president's comments and acknowledgement of special calendar events. We have one that is between now and the next board meeting, and that is February 2nd through February 6th, and that's National School Counseling Week. So we'll do a preemptive thank you to all our school counselors for everything you do in our schools every day and in the district. So the next item we have under recognitions is something that will make him squirm and not want to deal with. However, he's stuck here. And with Mr. Gattell, if you'd like to fire it up for us, please.
Dr. Micah, thank you so much for your service. It's been a pleasure working with you over the years. I wish you all the best in the future, and we'll see you around.
Thank you, Dr. Micah.
I am truly thankful for your leadership and wish you continued success and happiness in all of your future endeavors. You will be truly missed.
Gonna miss you. Wish you all the best of luck. Gonna miss playing basketball with you.
Good luck to you, and thank you once again, and I wish you all the best.
From one servant leader to the next, I'll see you around the district.
I hired him back in about 1998 to be a fourth grade teacher at Windcrest Elementary. In his interview, he said that his lifelong goal is to become superintendent, and here he is, superintendent of Northeast.
So congratulations to you and everything that you've done for each and every student that has walked through the halls of Northeast Independent School District. Congratulations, and you will be missed, but one thing I would like to offer you is I hope to see you around the district.
Thank you, Dr. Micah.
For creating ICSI.
It's been an awesome experience for both teachers and students to reach out across Northeast and be able to build relationships.
I'm a stronger cyber competitor because of ICSI.
And I'm workplace ready because of ICSI.
Goodbye and good luck from ICSI.
I heard you are moving on out. Well, congrats to you, Dr. Micah. Congrats to you. I hope your new adventures will be exciting and that your days are filled with laughter.
Thank you for all the things you've done for Northeast and being a wonderful superintendent and also a good teacher. Maybe you'll go back to teaching, or maybe you'll come back to Windcrest. You know, I'm not going to be a unicycle person forever, so maybe you could come back and teach the kids how to ride a unicycle again.
I do appreciate you personally coming down and speaking to me whenever I asked you to, and I needed a little in order to keep going in the district, and I appreciate that. You were always so warm and welcoming.
Thank you for your leadership, thank you for your friendship, and most importantly, thanks for being you. Have a good one, sir. We'll see you later.
And you gave of yourself quite a bit, and I just want to say thank you for your time and your friendship and your leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good luck with everything.
I'm wishing you the best on the next chapter of your life. Enjoy. You deserve it.
Thank you for your years of service. Once a hawk, always a hawk.
Well, I want to thank Ms. Chancellor and her communications team for throwing that together without him actually knowing about it. So that's a feat in itself. So I want to extend my heartfelt thank you to Dr. Micah for his dedicated leadership and service to our school community. Throughout his tenure, he's led with integrity, compassion, and steadfast commitment to what is best for students. His presence will have a lasting impact on our schools, and his guidance has been deeply appreciated by staff, families, and community members alike. As Dr. Micah moves on to the next chapter of his life, we should celebrate the many contributions he made and strong foundation he will leave behind. We all saw the outward-facing moments during his time at the helm: Micah minutes, board meetings, graduations, all the things that we regularly witness as parents, staff, and communities. However, it's the little moments and gestures that didn't quite receive the applause or recognition. Things like participating in a fun run at Kruger Middle School, I think my first year on the board, where I think he lapped me. And
But who was counting?
And my daughter came in second, so she was right behind him. So his unwavering commitment to student voice. He met with countless local partners and folks in the community to put our students in position for success. He's talked about this, I think, before, but after the superintendent awards, I think last year, there was a student that wanted a picture with him. So he went to the school and took a picture with the student. He was able to get us a seat at the table with lawmakers and TEA. He went to the Northwood Elementary School Boys to Men Club and talked to them like he was in a classroom again. He sacrificed his personal time because that's what the job demands. And in that vein, I would be remiss if I did not recognize his wife, Karen. Karen? I don't know why I'm getting choked up here. I got to stay in this thing. And his children, Allie and Jackson. We appreciate you sharing Sean with us and allowing him to be present in the lives of the 56,000 students in our district. You carried the load as much as he did, and we thank you for supporting him and us through the years. And with that, we will give them to you here shortly. We wanted to give you a bouquet of flowers in recognition of your service to our district. I know that Dr. Micah would have much rather spent his time in our welding shop or in a math class, much more than this boardroom. But his vision and care for our district will continue to be felt for years to come. Although we won't see Dr. Micah around the district anymore, I wish him every success and happiness in the future. So thank you for everything you've done. And I think there's a few other board members that might want to say something. So, Ms. Thompson.
Well, David, you put it perfectly, but I have written a couple things. Although we have only gotten to work together for a year and a half, I'm truly grateful for your leadership in our district. Hopefully, I'm not the reason that you're exiting. I'm just kidding. We said
She's sitting in the front row.
That's right. You have guided the district through more challenges in 7 years than many leaders face in an entire career, and that dedication has not gone unnoticed. Your presence throughout the district has been deeply appreciated, and your innovative ideas and vision for NEISD have made a truly lasting impact. I also want to extend my sincere thanks to your wife and kiddos, as your role is truly one of service and sacrifice, placing 57,000 other people before your family even. I wish you guys nothing but the best as you move forward in whatever you're doing. Enjoy it and take care of each other.
Dr. Mike, I want to say thank you, and I want to say thank you to Karen for 6 years of dedication to our district. You have navigated some pretty difficult waters over the past 6 years and have done so with tremendous strength and wisdom. You leave behind an incredible, respected legacy of many great accomplishments on behalf of our NEISD students, and I know really that's what it's all about for you, and that is why you're so respected. Good luck to you in your next chapter. Karen, good luck to you managing all of the Sean Micah energy.
You know, when he told us he was resigning, every time I see him, I say, I'm so mad at you. But all kidding aside, you know, he is going to be some big boots to fill. And we appreciate him, and with all of the adversity that he's been put through with, you know, all the various things that have come at him, he's come through it like a champ. And, you know, frankly, I really respect the man. So, you know, to your future endeavors, I know you're going to rule the roost, because that's just what you do. And we appreciate you. And Karen, we appreciate you. Thank you for sharing him for so long. And he's awesome. So you just, you know, you guys just stay the course.
Thank you, Dr. Micah, for always leaning in, for always looking forward, for having the difficult conversations, and supporting our students, staff, and families. And thank you very much to your family for allowing you to do all that. Thank you for being the scout and not the soldier, which means our district was lucky to have a superintendent who encouraged curiosity, open-mindedness, and a drive for truth over defending beliefs. Your scout mindset led us to better decision-making by gathering facts and adapting. I wish you and your family all the very best as you move forward. Thank you.
Save the best for last, right? In the past 3 years, we have watched you not take any time away. Very seldom, we noticed. We've watched you sit up here with us sometimes until a little after midnight. We noticed. We've watched you in your videos with our kids, in the schools with the teachers, and we've noticed. It hurts my heart that you haven't been fishing in years. And so may the fish always be biting, and good luck.
And if we can't, I don't know, it might be a little clunky. I'd like to take a picture with Dr. Micah and Karen up here at the front with the board, if that's possible. If y'all want to come down to the front, we'll take a quick photo. Thank everybody for entertaining that. All right, item 7, matters from the floor. Ms. Thompson.
The trustees welcome comments from members of the public during this time of the meeting. Generally, board members do not respond to public comments during the meeting, although members may request further information or a further agenda item on a matter raised during public comment. As explained fully in the board's written procedures for this time, the matters from the floor portion is a limited public forum. Accordingly, speakers may present on a topic related to district business for up to 3 minutes, but are not permitted to make 1, personal complaints about an individual staff or board member that should be raised using the district's grievance policies, 2, a personnel action, 3, a student disciplinary matter, 4, a complaint about a particular student, 5, or pending litigation. Any person who persists in speaking on these topics after being directed not to do so will lose the remainder of their time to speak and may lose their privilege of addressing the board at future meetings. If you signed up to speak on a specific agenda item, you will be called up when the board reaches that item. Please remember that this is a business meeting of the board. Any person or group engaging in outbursts of any kind causing a disruption to the meeting will be warned, and if they persist, will be removed from the meeting. This is to ensure that all speakers have an opportunity to make comments without interruption and that the board members are able to pay full attention to speakers without any distractions. We also welcome written comments at any time, either through email at board@neisd.net or by mail, care of the Superintendent's Office at 8961 Tesoro Drive, 6th floor, San Antonio, Texas, 78217. And I will call you in numerical order and keep time. Number 1.
Good evening, Mr. President, board members, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests. My name is Sandy Huey, and you know why I'm here. Dr. Micah, I was here for your very first board meeting as superintendent, and it felt important to be here for your last. When you took on the leadership of NEISD, I'm sure you never could have anticipated all that would come your way. Through every challenge, you stayed with us, guided by a clear vision for where you wanted the district to go, and just as importantly, by a willingness to listen carefully as we work together on how to get there. No one truly understands the demands of this role except another superintendent or their spouse. The long hours, the constant pressure, and the unrelenting desire to do better and be better never really stop. It's 24/7 commitment with very little time for rest or relaxation. I'd be remiss, though, if I didn't also recognize another great strength, the team that you built around you. While the weight of final decisions ultimately rests on your shoulders, you surrounded yourself with talented, dedicated professionals you trusted to do what was best for our children and our district, and that makes a difference. Finally, there are 3 more people who deserve our gratitude. To your wonderful, beautiful, incredible wife, Karen. To your children, Allie and Jackson. Thank you for sharing so much of your husband's and father's time with this district. We know his work often came at the expense of family time, yet his love and pride for each of you has always been evident. Dr. Micah, thank you for your leadership and perseverance and your many years of dedication to public education, especially to Northeast ISD. Happy trails.
Thank you.
Number 2.
Good evening, President Beyer, members of the board, Dr. Micah. I'm Patsy Esterline, Northeast AFT President. Dr. Micah, on behalf of our members, thank you for your service as superintendent. We appreciate the support you gave us in our 2 free book distributions to Title I schools. In each distribution, we provided 40,000 age-appropriate books to pre-K through high school students, giving them the opportunity to build libraries for themselves at home. Combining the 2 distributions, students received a total retail value of approximately $1 million. These accomplishments would not have been possible without your active support. You also led the district during a most challenging time, from COVID to school funding challenges to legislative mandates, just to mention a few. You met the crisis head on, so thank you. Hopefully your next endeavors will have easier challenges and less stress. Dr. Jarrett, congratulations on your appointment as interim superintendent. We stand ready to assist you as best we can. Finally, I'd like to thank board member Ms. Diane Villarreal for seeking ways to reduce the paperwork burden on teachers, and to Dr. Micah for seeking a way to address superfluous or redundant paperwork. Unfortunately, Mr. Cummings, our representative on this effort, is not available to give his thanks personally. He's home ill. It is our understanding that Dr. Jarrett is also in support of this effort. So we thank you, Dr. Jarrett. We look forward to seeing progress in the near future. We invite other school board members to sit and talk with us as well. This year, there will be difficulties to be met, but hopefully with great positive outcomes. Northeast AFT is ready to work with you to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 3.
Raise the mic. Mr. President, board members, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests. My name is Shannon Grona, and I was the board president when we hired Dr. Micah. Since we were at his first board meeting, we thought we would come to your last one. Winkley is unable to attend, but she asked me to share this. It has been an incredible privilege to have you lead our district for the past 6 years. Your accomplishments are numerous, but I will forever be grateful for your unwavering leadership during the pandemic. You guided us with wisdom, strength, and compassion, always putting the needs of teachers, students, and staff first. I witnessed firsthand the tireless effort you put into navigating uncharted waters, and you did so with grace and determination. Now my comments, and yes, while you can stand in front of people and speak, you know I like to have my notes, so I wanted you to be able to poke fun at me one more time. And Apple asked if I was going to cry. Thank you for being innovative and a visionary and recognizing that the educational landscape is changing. And if we wanted to stay ahead, we had to be innovative. You worked hard to find ways to implement the LEDGE requirements, but to do so in a way that worked for our district. Thank you for implementing student voice and actually listening to our students. You polished our crown. You got a seat at the table. And you made NEISD a premier district once again. You developed relationships with the business community, and you were able to create world-renowned programs again, all for the benefit of our students. To the board and Mr. Jarrett, I hope that you all develop the working relationship that Dr. Micah had with us. Forming those relationships allowed us to make some hard decisions when we had to, because we trusted Dr. Micah and he trusted us. I'm sorry, guys. There were times that Dr. Micah came to us with an idea. He didn't have all the answers, but we trusted him to do what was best for the district. And when he did have all the answers, we were the first to know. So I hope that you all can build that relationship with Mr. Jarrett so that he can continue to bring forth innovative ideas to keep moving our district forward. And when he has to bring forth a tough decision, that you can trust him and trust each other to do what's best for the students in the district. I've often been asked what were some of the best decisions and hardest decisions of my 12-year tenure. I won't speak to the hardest, but the best decision by far was to hire Dr. Micah. Thank you, Dr. Micah, for your leadership and for not making me regret my decision. As you step into this next chapter, we wish you nothing but the best. May you continue to create beautiful memories with Karen and your kids. And happy School Board Appreciation Month to all of you. Thank you for everything that you do for our district.
Thank you.
Number 4.
Good evening, President Byer, members of the board, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests. My name is Teresa Hurd. Many of you know that I wear several hats in the district, but tonight I stand before you simply as just myself. This past year has asked a great deal of you trustees. You have faced difficult decisions, long discussions, and choices that were not always easy or popular. This month gives us the opportunity to pause and recognize you, not just for the votes you cast, but for the countless volunteer hours and the preparation and the late nights and the genuine care you bring to this role. Your willingness to listen, to research, to ask thoughtful questions, and to consider the long-term impact of your decisions truly makes a difference. There are several actions I would like to personally acknowledge and thank you for. Throughout the consolidation process, you consistently asked for step-by-step updates and accountability. While this process was challenging and at times unsettling for staff, your approach made it clear that people mattered. You worked to ensure that employees were not simply displaced, but thoughtfully placed, and that jobs were preserved. That sense of stability meant more than you may realize. For many of us, it meant security for our families and reassurances during an uncertain time. At the same time, you remained focused on responsible budgeting and long-term savings, demonstrating stewardship not only for the present, but the future of our district. One decision that touched me personally was your vote to include instructional assistants in the teacher reimbursement program. This was a first, and it sent a powerful message that our contributions are valued. That $200 meant more than a line item in a budget. It was groceries, it was gas, it was relief. In addition, your decision to keep insurance premiums from increasing provided peace of mind to many hourly employees who already stretch every dollar. Affordable insurance is not a luxury, it's a necessity. That choice showed compassion and understanding for those of us who give our heart to this work, even when the pay is modest. While next year's calendar may not fully reflect the needs of the hourly staff, I was encouraged to hear many of you ask how we might be better supported through professional development opportunities. Being heard matters, feeling valued matters. I sincerely hope you continue to advocate for these supports as you move into the upcoming budget conversations. Each of you represent your district with dedication, integrity, and heart. I know this role requires sacrifice, especially considering this work is entirely voluntary. Yet you continue to show up, guided by the shared goal of doing what is best for our students, our staff, and our community. That commitment does not go unnoticed. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for your time, your service, your thoughtfulness, and your humanity. I look forward to continuing to work alongside with you, with the executive staff, and our interim superintendent, and Mr. Jarrett. And thank you, Dr. Micah.
Thank you.
Number 5.
Good evening, board members, executive staff. First of all, Dr. Micah, thank you for your leadership. As a parent, really appreciate it. And to the board, thank you again for your leadership in honor of the Appreciation Month. Just want to express from our behalf, for everything that you do. Now, at the risk of being the first downer tonight, there is a topic that I do want to bring up. And we're here again to ask you to please speed up the process to better the alternative school, a recurring topic. While we understand that you're working on ways to make improvements with technology and looking to possibly outsource that portion of the education, you have an internal process and support actions that you can take immediately by holding principals and teachers accountable. And this should be your priority. When sending students to the alternative school, the staff needs to do their job, know the system, communicate, and provide the work to students. Home campus teachers have the responsibility while alternative school teachers should mainly provide supervision, especially for those students in advanced classes. Having state-of-the-art technology will do nothing if your principals and teachers are not aware of how to use the current system or simply don't do their work. Now, it's not all teachers, it's not all campuses, but there is a problem, and the problem needs to be fixed. During the placement meeting, principals look parents in the eye and tell them that their students will be supported, especially in advanced classes. But that is where the breakdown begins. The alternative school doesn't always have the right number of teachers, even for core classes, and students who are in advanced classes have zero support. They have to sit in the classroom, they have to essentially grab a Chromebook. Half the time the Chromebooks don't work. When they work, they don't have the material. They go to a Google Classroom that doesn't have the work for them, and other times the Google Classroom, they don't have the support from the home campus. And even other times when they have the support, they have the material, the teacher at the alternative school will tell them to stop that work and instead do the work for the regular class, not for their advanced class. All of that causes students to fall behind. You don't need a PhD or state-of-the-art technology to fix this. It's common sense. So why don't you look at those students and their grades before and after their placement and see what is the impact on them? It's been a year and a half since we brought this up and a few months since the alternative school provided information to you, but there has been no change so far. And instead of fixing internal processes, you're waiting for a technology fix, ignoring the root cause of the problem. The solution is easy and starts with staff, principals, and teachers. What we need now is for you to require those who send students to the alternative school to walk the facility learn how to support their students as home campus staff. And,
That's time.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 6.
Good evening, President Byer, members of the board, executive staff, Dr. Micah, and guests. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Jessica McMillan, and I'm an employee representing American Landmark Property Management. I'm here to share a new initiative we've launched, one that is designed to support educators, students, and the broader community in a meaningful and practical way. As we all know, educators today face increasing challenges, including rising housing costs, limited time, and resources. At the same time, many students need additional academic support outside the school, especially in the communities where they live. Our Educator in Residence program was created to help address both of these needs. Through this program, we are seeking 3 educators to live on-site in one of our 3 communities, rent-free. In exchange, participants to commit to just 3 hours of tutoring per week for resident students. Tutoring sessions would take place in the evenings, and educators would have access to our community clubhouse as dedicated, quiet space for instruction. This is not a full-time position and not intended to replace an educator's current role. Instead, it's a housing and community support initiative that allows educators to continue their full-time work while making a meaningful impact right where students live. By reducing housing costs, we hope to ease some of the financial burden educators face while also strengthening academic support and community engagement. We are looking for educators with broad and adaptable skill sets, including K-12 teachers, ESL and language instructors, literacy specialists, tutors, and educators with experience in academic support or life skills instruction. Ideal candidates are those who enjoy working with diverse populations and are passionate about building relationships within a community. The goal is not just tutoring, but connection, creating a trusted academic presence that students and families can rely on. We believe this program has the potential to benefit everyone involved. Educators gain housing stability, students receive consistent academic support, and communities become stronger and more engaged. I appreciate your time this evening and would welcome the opportunity to partner with your district by sharing this program with educators who may be interested. I have flyers available with QR codes to apply and also have information available via email. Thank you for your continued dedication to supporting both teachers and students and for allowing me to speak with you today.
Thank you. You have any others? Okay. Move on to item 8, matters from executive session. A, personnel including but not limited to administrative appointments pursuant to Government Code Section 551.074. 1, possible action regarding routine personnel including but not limited to administrative appointments. A, Executive Director of Technology Services. Do I have a motion to approve as provided to us?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Chidgey. As a reminder, we're going to have to do a little roll call vote, so this might take a little bit extra time. So start with myself, David Byer, yay. Ms. Chidgey?
Yay. Aye.
Aye, that's fine.
Aye. Never.
Ms. Thompson?
Aye.
Ms. Villarreal?
Aye.
Ms. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Landry?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 2, possible action regarding interim superintendent contract. Do I have a motion to approve as discussed in executive session?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Cox. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Villarreal. David Byer, aye. Ms. Chidgey?
Aye.
Ms. Thompson?
Aye.
Mrs. Villarreal?
Aye.
Ms. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Landry?
Aye.
Thank you. Sorry, she's not here. Motion passes 6-0. Sorry, we're getting used to a new process here, and it's a little different. Cumbersome, thank you, that's the word. All right, item 9, presentations. A, intruder detection audit. Dr. Mike.
Thank you, Mr. President. You don't have to mute me that fast. Karen, put down the remote. As we discussed in executive session, we had 4 campuses that have been visited since the last board meeting, and there were no findings. I don't know, is Mr. Lyon in here still? He was here earlier. I just want to thank Mr. Lyon and his team and the folks. This year, really, we have seen a lot fewer findings, and I will attribute that to Mr. Lyon, his team, and those that are out there every day in the schools. Thank you to our parents who are following the rules. Thank you to our staff for making sure the doors are locked, and thank you, students. Oh, there you are. Thanks for showing up. But thank you just to everybody, even down to the students who are really starting to get that message. And you know, Mr. Jarrett and I were speaking earlier today, but folks, safety is everybody's job, and it's great when we see everybody come together. So thank you, Mr. Lyon, for what you're doing with our door audits. And staff, keep up the good work. That's all, Mr. Byer. Thank you.
Thank you. Item B, State of the PTA Report. Mrs. Henry.
Good evening, Mr. President, board members, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests. My name is Lee Henry, and I am the NEISD Council of PTA's president. I'd like to take a moment to recognize and introduce the NEISD Council officers and chairs that are here with me tonight. We have our first Vice President of Leadership Development, Carrie Jonitz. Our fourth VP of Communications, Barbara Rapley. Our Secretary, Sarah Patterson. Our parliamentarian, Josie Majeres. Our advocacy chair, Robbie Shepard. Our mentor chair, Debbie Weiss-Mueller. Our Founders Day chair, Lucy Reyna. Our life member chair, Anna Maria Morales. Our training chair, Catherine Montgomery. And our Healthy Lifestyle chair, Denisha Burley. And last, our hospitality chair, Monica Sparks. That's pretty much half our board is here tonight. So, as part of the Texas PTA's criteria to earn the Outstanding Council PTA Platinum Award, a PTA council must attend a school board meeting and present a State of the Council report. Our council earned this award last year, and we're working hard to achieve the distinction again this year. We hope you find this report informative. The NEISD Council of PTAs is a group of dedicated volunteers working to make a difference for all of our children. Our goal is that everything we do is in support of the PTA mission, to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. As a council PTA, our purpose is to act as a primary channel of communication within the PTA network. We provide information, inspiration, support, and guidance to our member PTAs. Council PTA serves to strengthen our 64 local PTAs, develop leadership potential, promote PTA membership, and advocate and advance Texas PTA's goals, programs, and initiatives. So our PTA year started July 1st. On July 18th through the 20th, our council board members, along with 48 local PTA leaders, traveled to Dallas for the annual Texas PTA Launch Seminar. At this seminar, Texas PTA holds its annual meeting, and it's a weekend filled with training and network opportunities. As an association, we have 5 meetings per school year. During these meetings, we share timely information, focus on promoting Texas PTA's message, recognize local membership award accomplishments, and highlight successful and innovative local programming of our PTAs through Council Spotlight on Awards. 2 of these meetings have already happened. One was September, where we had our PTA trivia contest and heard a presentation on the NEISD bond, and November, where the district recognized the top volunteers for the last school year. We held 2 special council delegate meetings in the fall to endorse the NEISD bond. At our January meeting, we will hear from our interim superintendent. At our March meeting, we'll have a presentation of our Virgil T. Blossom scholarships, and in April, we will recognize our local PTA membership awards. We have provided and will continue to hold numerous trainings on helpful and relevant topics, including officer responsibilities, membership, and committee chair trainings. The 7th class of our Connections Leadership Development program completed their course in November, and we had one of our largest classes with 12 graduates. Our mentor team has been working with all of our local PTAs to address their specific needs and questions. We currently have 61 of our 64 PTAs in good standing, with Texas PTA, and we are working on getting the other 3 out of active status into good standing. Currently, our council-wide membership is 14,714 PTA members, which puts us at 85% of our goal for this year, which is 17,263 members. Our local PTAs are doing a great job sharing the PTA message and promoting membership. Council helps local PTAs increase their membership with our community membership program. We currently have 38 community heroes that have contributed 398 memberships to our local PTAs. I'm happy to announce that we'll be receiving the Golden Apple Membership Award from Texas PTA, so I'd like to thank all of the executive staff and the school board trustees who are joining the PTA. This is an award that we get when we have everyone, the trustees and the executive staff and the superintendent all as PTA members, so thank you guys. So our upcoming major council events for the remainder of the school year. We have the International School Exchange Breakfast on January 30th. This is a heartwarming event with the exchange students here in our district share their experiences here in America and talk about their home countries. On February 5th, Council will host their annual Founders Day celebration at MacArthur High School, where we will honor this year's recipients of the Texas Life Member and the Extended Service Awards, as well as the National Lifetime Achievement Awards. Also in February, on the 23rd, we will take part in Texas PTA's Straight Talk event, and we'll host our own local panel on this year's topic, which is Raising the AI Generation. Council Reflection Awards will be presented at a ceremony on March 23rd at MacArthur High School. And we will award 7 more high school seniors for this year's Class Blossom Scholarship recipients at our delegate meeting in March. The $5,000 scholarship is spread out over 8 semesters. We currently have 26 recipients still in the process of pursuing their degrees in education. In January, we will vote to increase the scholarship amount and add 7 additional one-time scholarships, as well as 3 scholarships for NEISD staff members pursuing continuing education or certificate programs that will help support their work in public schools. This will bring our yearly scholarships from $35,000 to $63,500 if this is approved at our January meeting. And last, I want to talk to you about our clothes closet. This month, they are celebrating their 9th anniversary. This is a 100% volunteer-run program that has grown tremendously over the time. From its first semester of operation, spring of 2017, where 150 students were served, to our most recent semester of fall of 25, where 591 students were served. The clothes closet has definitely grown. In fact, we've outgrown our original location on Tesoro Drive and moved over summer to the new location on 3736 Perrin Central Building 1. This larger new location allows us to serve more students and offer more clothing selections. The clothes closet serves students both in person and with curbside service, where volunteers will select the items for the students, which are then picked up by the family specialists and delivered to the families. This allows us to service families that cannot get to the clothes closet due to work schedules or transportation issues. In just 9 years, the clothes closet has served more than 7,000 students from every campus on our district. This program will certainly not be possible without the volunteers and clothing drives from the NEISD schools and the support of our entire NEISD community. So we appreciate all of your continued support. I did want to say, Dr. Micah, thank you so much for your continued support of PTA and ensuring that there's a PTA in every campus. We appreciate you and we'll miss you. So anyway, thank you guys for your time. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Henry. I appreciate it. And thank you for the dinner this evening for the trustees. That was very helpful for the rest of the business that we have for the evening. But thank you to you and the board for being here. And I know what you guys do in the schools every day, so we appreciate your support where we can't necessarily do that as a district. I know parents and volunteers that come in and really make up the slack that the district can't provide. So does anybody have any questions or anything? All right. Ms. Cox.
I just wanted to reiterate what David said. PTA works to build such a sense of community. You start it, you build it, you maintain it, you encourage it, you push it forward, you push it out. You really help just make it a 360, I think, with staff and students and campuses and community and business members. So I just want to say, and I know how much hard work goes into all of that, so thank you very much, guys.
All right. No other questions or comments? We'll move on to item C, Texas Accountability and Performance Report and Scorecard Update. Mr. Jarrett.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board, executive staff, and guests. I would like to ask Brandy Merriman and our executive directors for curriculum instruction to come forward for this agenda item.
Good evening, President Byer, members of the board, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests. The Texas Education Code 39.306 requires each district board of trustees to publish an annual report that includes a variety of performance objectives. Tonight is the required public meeting and discussion of this report. I'll be presenting the 2024-2025 Texas Academic Performance Report, or TAPR, something like that, and other various aspects of the district performance. Before I begin, it's important to note that we'll be sharing the newest public available state and district data. Some of the data might be from the 2024-25 school year, while other data might be for prior school years. I will clarify as we move through. We'll also be sharing, after the annual report, the NEISD Balanced District Scorecard and our progress made to date. So the annual report has 8 sections. Many of these data points are included in prior released presentations that we've provided for you throughout the year or even the year prior. And in that case, I'm not going to review them. I'll just refer back to those meetings, those also public meetings, okay? Generally, TEA assigns 1 of 4 accreditation statuses to each district in the state. It's either accredited, accredited worn, accredited probationary, or no accreditation, and it's revoked. Obviously, we are accredited. It's assigned based on not only accountability ratings, but financial accountability ratings, data integrity, and program area deficiency, such as special ed, EB, that's identified through our results-driven accountability. The most recent district accountability accreditation is from 23-24, and we are accredited. The TAPR report, which is a PDF report that's about 34 pages long, it's compiled for every school and district in the state. It's provided in a PDF form, and we have to provide that to you in PDF form or to the public, and it's linked at the top of this page. On the front of the document, it provides our accountability ratings and our distinctions, if we've earned any as a district or campus. After 2 years of lawsuits and legal rulings, this year, TAPR does have our district accountability rating included. Student information, such as grade level, ethnicity, graduation, retention, all of that is part of the TAPR report. Staff information, such as salaries, years of experience, and program information are provided. We get to pick what we want to go over with you, but again, you do have the PDF. We'll start out with our state demographics and our district demographics, and you can see that we pretty much mirror the state. Again, this TAPR report only provides 2 years of data, and that's not enough. So, of course, I added about 9 more years. So you can kind of see the story. This is our student historical economic disadvantage. This is actually the state. The gray data, it will be represented by the state. Then it'll be like a little turquoise, that's the region. And then our data will be the blue. And we are traditionally below the state and region when it comes to economically disadvantaged. Those are that 1 year, kind of around, I think it was called COVID, where we had the remote learning. Our bilingual education program has been growing in the last 10 years. Again, the state and the region and our bilingual program. We can see that we've been growing every year since 2016. Again, gifted and talented program. We're now above the region and the state when it comes to a percent of our district that is designated as GT. And special education, it's all pretty much mirrored, all 3 programs. Now, besides demographic and attendance and things like that, a big part of the TAPR is star performance. We have already presented on the STAR performance prior to this meeting. It includes more than 6,400 data points, 2 years of data for most areas, college, career, military readiness, and that doesn't even count the state and regional data that's included. There are 3 passing rates for the STAR, approaches, meets, and masters. It provides data for each assessment, each grade level, and I reported this to the board September 8th, 2025, and the link to that presentation is provided here. This was the presentation. You may look familiar. Again, it's only 2 years of data that's provided in the TAPR, so to provide you a little bit of context that it is correct. The data for that end of that chart matches with the data that's provided in the TAPR. Also, when you look at the reading and the science and the social studies and the math, it all matches what you've already seen. Another part of the TAPR report is a bilingual education. English is a second language. It's a program evaluation that has been shared with this board in October. And so I'm not going to go back over it if that's okay. Attendance, graduation, dropout rates. These are all part of the TAPR. The most recent data that we have for attendance and graduation is the 2024. So class of 2023, class of 23-24 school year. The attendance for the state is represented by this graph, and the region, and the district. Again, we are all pretty much mirrored. Since it's 2 years in the rear, I attempted to calculate 24-25, and for the first semester in 25-26, I have the district at a 95.4. We have put a extra emphasis on attendance as a district when it comes to our leadership meetings to try to keep that in forefront for everybody. Graduation for the state and the region and the district is here. And another part of the TAPR report is college, career, military readiness. Again, it is a year in arrears in the fact that the data is from the class of 2024. It provides data not only on SAT, ACT, but every other possible college, career, military readiness indicator. The most recent data, again, is 2024. So this provides 2 years of data for the state and the district. One area that we've been working on is our areas that earn college credit, such as dual credit, AP, IB criteria, or on-ramps program. And we have been growing these programs. And Dr. Munoz is going to share more information about these later on. And then another area that we have worked on quite a bit is our industry-based certification. And again, Dr. Munoz is going to share more information here. Over time, our college, career, military readiness has grown, as it has for the state and for the region. So we're continuing to offer our campuses, our students, a lot of choices to earn their college, career, military readiness. Now, this hasn't been provided to the board yet. This is about the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board report. It comes, they collect data not for after graduation. So after they graduate, they record whether our kids enrolled in a Texas 4-year or 2-year institution. This is our data for the last 2 years. You can see that for our district, the most common school to go to is San Antonio College, and we have 12% of our districts who have gone to that college. And I have the top 15 schools that we attend listed here. There's other 4-year institutions and 2-year institutions that are provided in this report, but they've just been summarized as 2 lines on this sheet. Our total participation in a 2-year, 4-year Texas college has gone up from 55 to 56. This does not include students who went out of the district. I'm sorry, out of the state. Does not include out-of-state enrollments. Now, another part of the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board data is they study the student performance. Once they get into college, how do they do? And so they collect this data for the first year after they graduate, and the most recent data is the 2022-23 graduates, and it records basically their grades, their grade points for the fall 2023 to the summer of 2024. This is a report by district. Again, it has the report for each high school. We have 1,162 students that have gone to a four-year college during that time, and 1,265 that went to a two-year public college. And 491 of those had a grade point average of a 3.5 or higher. All of these have had a grade point average of a 2.5 or higher. So that's about 79% of our kids who enter a four-year college have a grade point average of 2.5 or higher. Another section of the annual report is the report on violent or criminal incidents. It requires us to publish through the link that's provided at the top, the number, the rate, the type of violent or criminal incidents, the descriptions of these incidents. The district report for the 24-25 school year is available. TEA publishes an annual list of campuses identified for persistently dangerous schools or a watch list. NEISD is not part of that list. As a matter of fact, the state of Texas doesn't have anybody who's been part of that list for the last 3 years. When you get to this website, you can see every year is listed at the top, and there's a place that says incidents and discipline reasons, and I've summarized 3 years of that right here. I'll give you a minute to look at that. The campus improvement plans were introduced to the board in November of this year. As you know, the campuses and the district all have improvement plans in order to address areas for improvement. It was presented to the board November 10th. Also, the HB3 goals, which is House Bill 3 from the 2019 school year, thank you, that is provided or required for each district and campus. We're going to provide you an update to that after this. And, oh, it says right there, after this. Okay. Another part of the report is the actual financial report from the 2023-2024 school year. Again, it's provided to the board actually last spring, I believe, is when you had this data. But this is the one that's been published to the website, and it's presented to the board in the fall. There is a glossary that's provided for you for all the different terms when it comes to the annual report. And we also have resources. Within 2 weeks, I'm going to post the annual report to the district website. I'm also going to have a binder in the front office where you can see any campus if you would like to see a hard copy of these. And if you have any questions, I'm here. Yes, ma'am.
I just have one.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the barrier to us actually getting the information to see if our kids are going out of state? What is the barrier?
There's nobody who collects it, as far as I know. Yeah, there's no way to collect it. I mean, if we had, I guess we could ask the kids, but that would still be a very hard way to get the data.
You mean for colleges?
Yeah, for colleges. Yeah.
So there's no mechanism currently that's in the U.S. to actually track that data.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. It's not an us, there's a barrier. It's just simply not tracked. The state of Texas collects for the students who attend schools here. They do not collect that information for students who leave the state.
That seems.
It does.
Like
it does seem like it's something they can solve, but they don't care. It's not Texas.
Just doesn't make any sense
Yes,
to
ma'am.
me, but hey, it's a government.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have any questions for Ms. Merriman? Sorry.
So, on the TAPAR report, on page 5, I feel like there is an explanation based on our sequence of math courses.
Mhm. Yes, ma'am.
But our 7th grade math was low last year, it's low again this year, and I think
Yes,
know
ma'am. You
that
could
it's the
attribute that
sequence.
to the sorry to interrupt you.
No.
You can attribute that to our honors program. So a 6th grade honors student takes 6th grade math unless they're on the hyper-accelerated track, then they skip 7th grade. And so when a 6th grade goes to a 7th grade honors class, they take an 8th grade. So there's just basically no honors.
So the honors kids are pulled out.
Yeah, they're
And it
pulled
makes a
out. We have the
difference
same
for us.
issue with 4th grade. You might notice
Oh,
that
yes,
later.
okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I remember there was something.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
I couldn't. Okay, I have a couple more. I
Mhm.
apologize. So there has to be a good explanation for this. It has 3rd through 8th EOCs. They're-
What page are you talking about?
Well,
now?
I'm on page 11,
Mhm.
and it's on also page 10.
Well, as you might know, that they can be on an accelerated track. We do have we have a couple kids who take biology in middle school, and we also have algebra and English 1, I think. Is that correct? And geometry. Algebra and geometry, but there's no EOC for geometry.
So 6th and 7th graders take EOCs?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. There are some kids who are on a hyper-accelerated.
Hyper-accelerated.
Hyper. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I did not know that. Yeah, okay. And then our annual growth scores
Yes, ma'am.
look like they're lower than the state over several grade level. Well, 6th grade for sure. I mean, is that something
We're definitely working on this. One thing that, remember, we have the system of bucket that we kind of shared at a previous meeting. It may have been before you were here, but where they have to jump a bucket, and so depending on it's a transition table. So that's how they're measuring it. And some of we just haven't quite figured out that a little bit, but
we're working on it.
But we are working on it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Anything else you want to add?
No, that's great. Okay, and then also our dual credit is lower than the state, which I am so proud of our dual credit. How can that be?
Well, we are growing our on-ramps program. Is that correct? Is that how you would say it? She has specific data she's going to share with you on that in just a moment.
That was my next question.
Yes, so because we're growing, there's 3 ways to get it: on-ramps, dual credit, and AP/IB. And some people want to do other things. There's no reason to do both, I guess is what I might say.
Okay. I just thought our scores should be higher than the state in all of it.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you.
We typically are. Yes, ma'am.
Thought so.
Any other questions? Ms. Thompson?
It may have been in an updated version that I didn't print, but the slides on higher education, can we get those?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I didn't know they weren't there, so yes, ma'am.
Well, I could have missed them, but.
You know what? It could have been I was still working on them, so I hid them a little while.
Okay.
You know, it could have been that.
We didn't have them prior to tonight.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So
We
it's
will push out a clean PDF to y'all.
Thank
Happy
you.
to.
Anything else?
No,
All right.
no, sir.
Ms. Merriman, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move
I'm
on.
going to bring up Dr. Schaefer. She's going to continue this presentation with our scorecard.
Thank you, Brandy. Good evening. So we bring you an annual update on House Bill 3 that relates to progress on early literacy, math, college and career, and military readiness. So we bring some of that to you through the scorecard, and we're hyper-focused on the first priority in the district balanced, the NEISD Balanced District Scorecard, specifically for students. The 4 areas, as you are well aware, and for the general public, it's student, staff, stakeholders, and stewardship, but we will hyper-focus on students tonight. So when we look at the scorecard layout, just to remind us all where we are in priority 1 with students, our intention is to support students in a multitude of ways to nurture their learning. And so we'll focus on 1.1 tonight. So that's the objective 1.1, demonstrating academic growth and critical thinking skills. The data sources that we use to think through and talk about how we reach students is listed in that 3rd column, and then our key actions are listed in the District Instructional Improvement Plan, which you've seen in a previous board meeting, so there's a sample there for you. And then progress measures, where we are now and then where we'd like to be in 5 years. So we have an update on those 5-year growth plans. So we're hyper-focused on our objectives related to curriculum, instruction, and assessment. So those are the key actions that we build around improving student opportunities and growth. So as you can see, we set 5-year goals around STAR specifically. On the left side of the screen, you'll notice the approaches goals over the 5 years. In the middle is meets goals, and on the right side is masters goals. So we've actually set our goals to achieve our objective, excuse me, and adjusted the approaches goals because we didn't quite make it. The meets goals, we are continuing in our progress because we did, and then masters, we did achieve our objective last year. So we're continuing on that journey. I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Muskies to continue the early literacy and early math.
Good evening. All right, we'll transition into our House Bill 3 goals for early literacy and early math. And so we'll start with our 3rd grade STAR reading goals, and these are the students that were at meets or above. So for last year, we set our goal at 56%, and we reached 59%. So we redistributed those goals for the next 4 years to still reach that 68%, but this year we set our goal at 60%. And then we'll move over to the other side for math. So last year our goal was 47%, and we reached 48%. Our goals will stay the same. And then we go down to Circle Literacy and Circle Math. Circle is the pre-K assessment that is given 3 times a year, and this is the end of the year, what we call Wave 3 data. So we had a goal set at 71% of our students who were on track in phonological awareness for literacy, and we reached 77%. So we have redistributed and increased the goals for the following years. Ultimately, 28-29 to have a goal of 89% of our students being on track in phonological awareness. Circle Math, 80% was our goal. We reached 83%, and our goals will stay the same for 90%, 28-29. And then we'll transition to MAP growth, kinder, and then MAP growth 1st through 3rd grade. MAP growth kinder, we fell short of our goal, 55%, by 2 points. We reached 53%. However, we are going to maintain the goals as is. MAP growth kinder for math, our goal was 57%, and we reached 59%. And so we are redistributing those goals as well for this year to increase to 60% for this year's goal. MAP growth 1st through 3rd grade in literacy and reading, we had a goal of 52%, and we reached 52%. Our goals stay the same. And then for math, we did not reach our goal. We actually had a decrease of 6% from what our goal was. However, we do not feel like we are going to change those goals based on the measures that we have already taken since we had this end of the year data for math. We are currently at 68.1% with our 1st through 3rd grade students. So we feel confident that we can reach or exceed that 58%. And I will transition over back to Dr. Schaefer.
Thank you, Dr. Muskies. So we are tracking our growth over a 5-year progress with the intention of the long-term goal from the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board achieving 60% of our 25 to 34-year-olds achieving a credential of some sort by 2030. So that's the big statewide overarching goal that we're on the journey of. So Dr. Muskies shared the early literacy experience there, early math. So this is at middle school, our journey towards college, career, and military readiness. So on on the left side of your screen, you'll notice that the College Career and Military Readiness Progress Measure was exceeded last year. So we're very excited for all the work of Dr. Munoz and her team in getting there with the intention of increasing the opportunities for high school credit that was CTE specific in middle school, so offerings that were high school for CTE in middle school, but also higher level academic courses for students in English and math as well at middle school. So by continuing the journey of increasing access to career and technical education and higher order English and math, our students are closer to achieving the journey of college, career, and military readiness by high school. So you'll notice in 24-25, the goal was 66%, and it was exceeded at 68%. So the team has increased their goal, progress on CCMR. For sixth grade reading star, last year the goal was 60%, and we were just under, even though we had an increase from 23-24 to 24-25. We're going to continue on the journey that we set. We're not going to lower that goal. We're going to continue to push forward, foot on the gas in reading. Sixth grade math, we also came in a little bit under. We had an increase of 1% from 23-24 to 24-25, but we will keep our foot on the gas and continue our journey for that 51% in 28-29. And with that, I'm passing the mic on over to Dr. Munoz to continue the college, career, and military readiness conversation.
Good evening. I just want to add to this slide, I am incredibly proud of the work that our middle schools have been doing as part of this CCMR Progress Measure Initiative. From one year to the next, we have over 1,600 students who have chosen to participate in a CTE course for high school credit. So we are absolutely incredibly proud of those efforts of the counselors, the parents, family specialists, everybody who's getting the word out as far as this being part of their college, career, military readiness initiative. Now, if we look at this, how that yields and is part of what we're trying to do with CCMRs, obviously we're trying to support college, career, military readiness from the early literacy, early math, all the way through middle school, and then going into career and tech and post-secondary education programs. So all the innovative programs that Dr. Micah has pretty much laid the foundation for our district to be able to have these experiences that are available for our students. Our state actually gives us credit through CCMR to be able to have not only post-secondary readiness opportunities, college savings for our families, but then also industry-based certifications for career readiness. So our students can graduate and they can actually start in the career of their choice, earning a very high wage. And so looking at our key actions and making sure that we're connected to every single aspect of that is what lends itself to these next steps. So we have increased the number of students enrolled in at least one potential college credit bearing class, AP, dual credit, and on-ramps. We started back in 22-23 at 41%. We are now at 48%. And I know, Ms. Chidgey, you were asking for that specific data. I have that for you. So we actually had a total of 2,149 course enrollments in 2024. So that's fall of 2024. And this year, we are very proud to report that we have 2,790 course enrollments in on-ramps alone. So it's a total of over 600 courses that our students are now wanting to challenge, which is great. This is actually the course where students can elect to take that college credit with them or choose to not take it with them. So, and then ultimately, again, with AP, incredibly proud of the work that our counselors, our teachers, our campus staff are doing. We have had, from the previous year, we had 5,800 AP exams, a little over, where students were actually challenging the exam. We're very proud to report that we have close to 8,000 AP exams that our kiddos are registered to take this year, for a total increase of almost 2,000 AP exams that our students are taking for college credit in 3, 4, and 5. So not only are they participating, but they're also challenging those assessments as well. So we're incredibly proud of the work of our campus teachers, admin, and everyone who's involved. We also.
So I want to add one more thing, Dr. Munoz. Ms. Chidgey, you talked about dual credit specifically. And so one of the things why we expanded on ramps is that you can't always find a dual credit teacher. And if you don't have access, then you're limiting the opportunities for kiddos. And so we expanded on-ramps to give more choice and flexibility to the campuses. So the number she's reporting is college credits earned. And so you may not get it through dual credit, but you can get it through on-ramps or AP. So
Correct.
ultimately, our goal is that kids access college credits.
Okay. Thank you, because I did wonder that.
And so the college credits earned here, as you can see, yes, the numbers were a little lower in the past, but again, we have an exponential growth of 4.5% of those courses, AP dual on-ramps, that are actually earning the college credit. So it's been absolutely fantastic, the work that has come out of our office, advanced academics, CCMR, our specialists who are on campus. It takes a village. There are a lot of folks, our librarians are helping with this initiative, so we are starting to see exponential growth in all of these areas as well. So in this particular case with industry-based certifications, there's a little bit of a change that happened here, which is where we did not end up meeting that particular goal in industry-based certifications. So at that 26.6%, there were a couple of changes that were happening around that time frame. We had concentrators versus completers. At one point, the state was actually giving us a credit for those students who were taking at least 2 classes, about 50% completion of that pathway. And so now it's completers only. So completers completing the pathway, 3 or more courses, 4 credits or more, and that industry-based certification is the only way that our students are going to be able to earn that CTE or IBC certification under the CCMR umbrella. So that indicator is not just about earning the IBC the way it was in the past. Now it's actually completing the pathway and earning the IBC. But again, just like my counterparts that we talk about not getting our foot off the gas, we realized very quickly that if we were to tabulate what we're looking at this point, we're looking at an estimate of over 1,000 IBCs, so an increase of close to 200 IBCs from one year to the next. And so those are just for our graduating seniors. We actually surpassed our goal and we attained over 3,000 industry-based certifications that were earned this last year from all high school grade levels. And so eventually when those students get to their senior year and they graduate, they will have met that indicator as being both completers and earning that industry-based certification. So we're working really hard with our campuses to make sure that not only are we completing the pathway, but we're also earning that industry-based certification. So our teachers, our CTE teachers, they've done an amazing job in making sure that they're preparing the kids for all of those industry-based certs. And so we also talk about including and supporting students and having a variety of opportunities aligned to their interests, making sure that there's a sense of belonging and engagement. Again, having those conversations for course requests, making sure that the student placement is the correct way to go, making sure that there's that alignment between where the student sees him or herself in the future. What would you like to do? Go to the military or beyond? Anything that we would like to offer you. Obviously, it's based on student interest. So a variety of programs have been initiated at this time, and you all have seen throughout the years. We've started with the early college high school. We've started with the PTECs. We've started with the innovative programs like ICSI. Again, staying very true and connected to workforce readiness and what our workforce is really asking for our students. And so again, one of the things that we really want to talk about is our connection for our counselors or our counselors between our counselors and the students. And so that 80-20 rule that came not too long ago, we wanted to ensure that our counselors had a lot of face time with the students. And so one of the ways that we wanted to do that was to be able to have a counselor dashboard where counselors can then monitor where they're spending their time, how they're connecting with kids, making sure that the communication is going back to the families. That was a topic of conversation at our last DEIC, and where we want to be able to increase our communication between the counseling office and our families. There are a lot of great programs, but there's nothing more painful than when our families say, I didn't know that we offered that here. And so we are going to push forward and make sure that not only do we start at the high school or middle school, we're actually pushing that into the elementary setting as well to make sure that parents and families know that this is a really great place to be, and we have a lot of great course offerings that help yield those results for kids and make them highly marketable in the future. And that is our presentation for tonight.
Thank you all for the merry-go-round of presenters.
Yeah.
You did great. You did great. Do we have any questions for the team? Ms. Cox?
I'm just really interested and really grateful for the CTEC program. So do you think starting CTE pathways in middle school will lead to more completers?
Yes, and we're doing that intentionally because we do not want to. It's like Mr. Jarrett talks about putting a glass ceiling, right? Sometimes what ends up happening is a student will run out of time in high school. And we do have the ability to be able to not only funnel in resources, but giving the kids that early exposure to a pathway they may like, and then completing that pathway early on in their high school career, so they are open opportunities for on-ramps, AP, dual credit, maybe possibly trying another CTE pathway that is of interest. But we tend to run out of that time when you get to the high school setting. So luckily, our middle schools have been completely open. They've surveyed their families. They're saying, what kind of programs would you like to see, especially here at your own home campus? And so we've been able to connect very closely with that communication effort and offer those pathways that not only start at the middle school, but they complete at the high school. So it's a direct path to Reagan or Johnson, so that way they're staying probably also within their cluster. Not only that, the principles courses that we want to offer are also very generalized, so that way if a student does want to transition to maybe ICSI or wants to do CTEC, those are also being funneled into that middle school setting, so the student could have those opportunities when they go to high school, because they lose those 2 periods a day. Well, we might as well capitalize on that time that they have available to them at middle school.
Okay, and help me understand the graduation or the earning the IBC. So is that 20% of all the kids who graduated or of all the kids who started? So
that's 20% of the students who are sitting in a CTE class as a graduating senior who have earned that indicator under CTE. Okay. It's like the 6,400 data points that Brandy was talking about. Okay. It's rather convoluted, but it's not 23% of our graduating classes. It's 20% or 26% of the students sitting in a CTE program who have completed the pathway and earned the IBC as a graduating senior.
Okay.
So we do have students in 9, 10, and 11 who are earning those industry-based certifications and completing, but we won't get those points until they graduate from our system.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Ms. Thompson.
I just have a couple of things. One, I wanted to really celebrate that growth in early literacy. That's impressive and important to see those pre-K kids thrive. I did see that early literacy in kinder, though, kind of trended down. If we had any reasons behind that or thoughts?
We've been working really hard with our ELAR department and our teachers as well to put in place an intervention hub. Being able to detect early on where those early literacy gaps might be, and a progress monitoring tool. We're in year 2, and so we are still monitoring implementation and refining, but we feel like we'll see some of those scores increasing as we see more of the fidelity to that intervention hub being used.
Okay, thank you. There was one more thing. Actually, 2 more things. I've lost my place in the paperwork, but one of the points on students is that we're constantly evaluating and asking them what types of courses they are interested in. Are we also kind of strategically abandoning things that students are not showing interest in anymore?
So it's a combination. I know Mr. Jarrett will probably chime in a little bit, but it's a combination of things. I think one of the things that we have to be cognizant of is obviously being able to fill some of the courses that we currently have, right? And then being able to strategically abandon some of those pieces through those purposeful conversations with our workforce, with our business and industry folks, and making sure that what we're offering is going to help support that certification, that hourly wage, that salary, and that marketability for the kids. And so ultimately, if there hasn't been anything that we have officially abandoned, but there are some courses that are not quite making just yet, but it's usually just a transition of the resources or potentially of the certification that we're offering at the time, and then getting the word out and how we are going to now implement new resources to make our kids or have access to that. So like our aerospace engineering and our NASA collaboration, those are just some things that we're putting in place. But again, that field alone is transitioning from year to year to year, and we have to stay very much in tune with what is going to be marketable in the workforce. And so communication, making sure that not only are we saying, hey, what would you like to do, but also what could potentially give you those opportunities for a career in the future. We just have to find that balance between the two.
So, and I'll just add, the answer is simply yes. I think strategic abandonment is a necessity in public education right now. We can't offer everything everywhere to every student, but we have to do it in a way that truly aligns to where kids are going to end up, not just where we want them to go or where they want to go. And so we use the word strategic abandonment because we need to evaluate all our programs annually to verify that this is still relevant and then be respectful if we're going to start to move away from it. So we are looking at those pretty carefully.
Okay, thank you. And then the last thing was, I heard you mentioned that there was some, maybe a software that we had iterated with counselors being able to communicate to families, and just thank you for that.
Yes. Yeah, we wanted to be able to highlight the work that our counselors are doing, meeting with students very consistently. We have a couple campuses that have made it a huge point to be able to go in and meet with every single student who's within their alpha, even if it's just for 5 minutes. And so just making that connection, luckily they've been able to build some of that time in some of those meetings. So not only counseling lessons in the classroom, but also individual guidance lessons, and then participating a lot in our college and career expo and initiatives that we're doing for CCMR. That they've been the saving grace for a lot of our community to know what is out there for our students. So it's been amazing to see.
Thank you, counselors.
Yes.
Yeah, Ms. Cox.
Is that counselor dashboard consistent across the district? Is it
So
the same at every campus?
everybody has access, like our campus administrators, our guidance office does have access to the dashboard, so they're able to see by percentage of how they're yielding those services. The services go directly into Skyward, and so that is where the data is getting pulled from. So ultimately, it's not a check-in or it's not a sign-in sheet. It's more so something where they could see by percentage, how am I really spending my time and staying true to the guidance that we receive from the state as well.
Thank you.
So one of the things I had, piggybacking on Ms. Thompson, when we were talking about that, the kinder assessment, I think it was specifically reading, which you were looking at, literacy, that it sounds like, if I heard you correctly, we don't necessarily have, so from pre-K, which is doing very well, to kindergarten, which maybe there's a dip, do we not have enough overlap at this point, since we're kind of early, if we only have a couple of years, to see the fruits of the pre-K increases, I guess, transition to the kinder success? I don't know if I'm asking the right question, but do we have enough data, or do we need to still wait another year or two to really see that increase, or it might correct some of the dip that we're seeing now?
So what we put in place will impact kinder directly. So we should see by the end of this year, being in year 2 of the intervention hub, we should see the fruits of that. Okay. Not all of our students attend our pre-K program, so it's a very small percentage of students as well.
Correct. And that's also a very good point. On the AP dual credit on-ramps, did I see that? So we had, of the, what is it, 3,000?
Yes. I'll get you the data. Sorry. I'm sorry. What specific data?
Well, no, I was just asking. So did I read that correctly? The percent either accepting that credit or passing was 26%. Did I have that right? I don't have the slide up in front of me. Because I know we're increasing the amount of folks that, or students that are, yeah, so go forward.
I'm sorry.
One more. So we're increasing the number of kids taking it, or enrolling in one of those courses,
that
right?
We're improving the combined average of those students who are taking the AP dual on-ramps college credits earned. And so even though, let's say, for example, if a student who says they're taking on-ramps, as long as they get a 70% or above, which is a C, we still get the credit for that CCMR indicator, but the student can choose not to have that as a indicator on their transcript. Okay. But we still get that credit. So 3, 4s, and 5s, the dual credit that they're earning through those college credits, and then the on-ramps 70 or above. And so that combined average, we've seen growth from one year to the next. I attributed heavily to the fact that we've had a lot of training, a lot of support staff, a lot of instructional support. Our CCMR specialists have been going in. Librarians have offered support as well. And so there's a team of folks that are now providing that support system for our kids.
And is there either a national or state average that we are able to compare ourselves to as far as where we stand with other either districts in the state or across the country?
We could look that up just to see who we're most comparable
Sure.
with.
Yeah. Well, and I guess increasing the kids, the students that are exposed to these programs is fantastic, but we also want to make sure we have quality output on this as
Absolutely.
well. That you know, if we're asking kids to take an AP exam, that they're set up for success to get a 3, 4, or 5.
Absolutely.
So, just out of curiosity, if we have something to say, here's a benchmark that would be helpful, not just within ourselves, but kind of outside of the district. So, any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you all very much. It's a lot of information, but we appreciate your time and bringing this to us. Item 10, superintendent comments. I'm not sure if we're going to keep the mic on for this or if we're going to.
I have some things I need to say.
It's the airing of grievances.
No. I want to begin first with congratulating Coach T.P. Miller from Johnson High School. He has been voted San Antonio's Inspirational Coach of the Year by Dave Campbell's Texas Football. So congratulations to Coach Miller. And so with that, I've got a few things that I want to say, and I want to first thank the board members for recognizing my wife. Look, I wouldn't be allowed to be sitting up here if it wasn't for her. And I will tell you, thank you for allowing a guy to chase his dreams. Because I will tell you, when we did this, and I say we did, I'm not sure she would allow me to do it again. Because you're right, she served in this role with me. And she was there so many times because, as many on this board know and fellow board members, I get up around 4 a.m. And so many times she would wake up and she'd be, wouldn't see me in the morning and wouldn't see me at night because I was getting home late. So thank you. To my kids, who I know are both watching, because they're texting me. I was trying to explain to them that, cell phone's on the agenda tonight. You should quit texting me. But look, Miss Huey, you gave me some wise advice when I took over, and you said, "Are you sure you want to do this with kids?" That was very, very smart. Because they too had to take the challenge of their dad being the superintendent. And they did a great job, and I will tell you there was no greater highlight in my career than handing both my kids their diploma. To my parents, which you all know I lost my dad, but both my parents, and I hope you all watched my video today, the lessons that I learned as a leader, I learned in my mom's restaurant and watched my dad, because they taught me what customer service really was and how to be a servant. And so I can't leave tonight without telling them thank you. To past board members and current board members, y'all, thank you for trusting a guy with big dreams. And, when I was a principal, I used to read a book every year that I took over, and it was called Big Plans. And Ms. Gronin, when you spoke, it reminded me of that book, because in there it never tells you about the big plans. It just kind of alludes to them. And, sometimes being bold and being daring, and I think you saw Noah's in the audience tonight. He featured Mr. Jarrett and I in a thing. I said, be courageous. That's what's missing today, is that courage to sometimes wade into things that you don't know all the answers, but you got to do it anyway. And you do it with all your heart and soul, and you do it. So thank you to all the board members that allowed me to do it. ICSI is a great example. I was listening to the kids talk. I didn't know what it was going to look like. I had no idea. I hired a guy and said, hey, you got 6 months, make it happen. But what we never lost focus on was where we were going, right? I want to thank, and I know some people are going to sneer, but I want to thank Commissioner Morath. That man has been a huge support. Hey, look, we don't always agree. It's not about that. But what we could do is sit at a table and have a real discussion. And at the end, if I disagreed with him, that was okay. It's what I always said to our legal counsel. Mr. Lopez, what I admire about attorneys is they can go in a courtroom and duke it out and then turn around and go have a drink together. That sort of discourse is what we need to bring back. The ability to agree to disagree and still move on. This commissioner has helped this district and myself do a lot of great things in here, and I can't help but thank him. To the legislators, look, I go up there, and I went up there with this crazy idea with Ms. Caldwell about points of convergence. Remember this? Everybody thought it was nuts. That's what we need. Look, folks, everybody's yelling at everybody today. It's just what it is. We always want to focus on all the things we differ on. I'd spend some time just telling people, you know what, Ms. V, I actually agree with you on this. Like, I think we could do something. It's amazing how far we can get when we just start from where we actually agree, rather than constantly focusing on where we don't. So to the legislators who allowed myself, Ms. Caldwell, Mr. Bywater into that office to have a discussion, hey, they didn't always agree with me, but I will say that I always felt heard. I always felt heard. To the students and the families, y'all, you are my why. It's why I've done this for 31 years. Mr. Byer, you talked about Northwood. If Robbie were, I don't know, is she still here? You saw it. I've never left the classroom. When I stand in front of kids, there is something that happens. I don't know what it is inside of me, but that is why I do what I do. Every decision I've made along this way has always been in the best interest of kids and to students, and that's it. To Mr. Jarrett, I want to leave you with some advice. All right? Now, I left you a note. You're to open it tomorrow. But I want you to remember these things. I'm going to say it publicly in front of the board. You're never alone. Even when you feel alone, you're not. Don't forget that. Let people see your thinking. A wise board member once told me that. You know it in your head, but you got to help people see it. You don't have to be omniscient. I am never the smartest guy in the room, but I have surrounded myself with some great people who are awfully smart that make me look even more smart. To Mr. Jarrett and to the board, I want to leave you with this. It is a pivotal time in education. It is. And it's okay to agree to disagree. But I encourage you to stay focused on your true north. You must do that because there is so much noise and so much distraction in the world of education. It is easy to lose your way. Stay focused on your true north. Now, I got to read something because I found this. And it says it better than I could. By the way, Ms. Groen, I didn't write any of this down. This is from a book. Humor me for a second. Cabinet, would you just stand up for a second? For all my members of cabinet in here. Come on, stand up. You got to do it. I'm still the superintendent. You got to stand up. That includes to the folks to my right. Can you stand up for a second? I want them to stand up because I want to read this to you. The people we surround ourselves will either raise us or lower our standards. They either help us become the best version of ourselves or encourage us to become lesser versions of ourselves. No man becomes great on his own. No woman becomes great on her own. The people around them help to make them great. We all need people in our lives who raise our standards, remind us of our essential purpose, and challenge us to become the best versions of ourselves. Thank you for helping me become the best version of myself. Because without you, I never would have done this. I never did it. It was you all who did it with me. So thank you. Mr. Byer, that concludes my comments for this evening. Thank you. Thank you. Can I leave now?
So if everybody bear with us for one moment. Dr. Micah, thank you again for your service in something I don't think we've really ever done before in this district. We're going to invite Mr. Jarrett, the interim superintendent, to come join us at the dais for the remainder of the meeting. And Dr. Micah is relieved of his duty.
Oh, that's good. I like that. Mama, I'm coming home, as Ozzy Osbourne would say. Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate you. Hey, are you going to come take a picture, Jason, real fast? Come on.
No, it doesn't.
Congratulations.
We figured that Mr. Jarrett would probably want to be responsible for any decisions that were made up here, so we didn't want Dr. Micah making promises that anybody else couldn't keep. So, and I want everybody to know that this board stands united behind Mr. Jarrett. We have faith in him, sort of keeping the course for this district for the time being, and as we, as the 7 board members, determine what the next steps are and have those discussions, we have all the confidence in the world that Mr. Jarrett will keep not our North Star, but our Northeast Star going correctly. So welcome, Mr. Jarrett.
Thank you, Mr. Byer. Can I have a moment?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna just jump right in. So I know Dr. Mike is leaving, and we've been celebrating him. And one of the things that I was first told when you decide to go into this role is a marriage. And I guess I'll turn to each of you and say, I do. Because I think it's just really important that we find our way on how we navigate each other. We're not going to always agree, but I think we all agree that we're here for kids and families and to serve this district. And so I'm excited for that. And to that point, I do want to take a moment, since it's Board Recognition Month, and recognize our board. As we talked about Dr. Micah and the wonderful things he did, which he did a lot of things, it also was because of these people up here and the people before those that were here before these folks got up here. Because it takes a whole entire village. And all these folks give up their time, energy, and their lives to serve the students in Northeast. And they don't get paid, they get a sandwich or two. But really they show up every day. And so our communications department put together a brief video to recognize our school board.
I kind of forgot it. I don't know what the school board is. I think the school board does, they help kids whenever in need. And actually that's it.
I think they pretty much control what happens in the schools and what goes around the schools.
It's like this thing, it's on your phone. I don't know. I'll give her a hint. Take care of students. Wait, is this going to show up to the students? Okay. Okay, now I'm actually kind of scared. Calm down. Maybe let's make this school 10 times bigger. 10 times bigger, yeah.
We would take mini field trips to like the Starbucks and the McDonald's that's like close to the mall.
No one doing homework. And every day you eat snacks at lunch.
Instead of doing like work every day, you just have 1 day or 2 days of a month where kids could look forward to, where like there's gonna be something fun.
I would love that.
Sports, I feel like softball and swimming is like something that some kids want to do in middle school but can only do in high school.
No fighting. No fighting. Tamales. Tamales are like this. Tamales. Tamales is tamales. That's just how you say it in Spanish. I know. Maybe sloppy joes and. Now I'm doing homework and everything. Just everyone just playing at school and that's it. Shepherd Pike.
Maybe more basketball.
Some baseball and soccer. Break a window, baby. To get that, I can play it. Actually, do not do any grades and stay in kindergarten. No, pre-K. I mean pre-K. Pre-K is super fun, actually.
But we should also have like a student lounge for kids who are like stressed out and stuff.
Make of the playground a little bigger for the younger kids and the bigger kids. Stay in pre-K. Forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you for doing all the things that they do.
Thank you.
We just appreciate everything that you do for us and making school more enjoyable.
We appreciate all the help and all the stuff that's happening at our school, making it a better place.
Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for this lovely school.
Yeah, thank you all very much. Appreciate that. All right, I'm hesitant to move into these next items. All right, so we're going to move on to item 11, board business. A, discussion and possible action on TEA corrective action plan related to board policy FNCE local. As you all know, this is related to what is commonly referred to as the cell phone policy that we currently have in place. We've received communication from the Texas Education Agency asking us to change that policy by the end of this month so that we get into compliance, and we've kind of had a few discussions about this. We have Mr. Lopez here to answer any questions that we might have related to this. So there is no real agenda item other than to discuss the policy going forward and then possible action on either keeping that policy or changing it at this point. So Mr. Lopez, did you have any information you wanted to provide before we launch into discussion?
No, I mean, ultimately you all have seen the corrective action plan that was sent by the agency. They're looking to direct the school board to make the change to the policy to define that school day means bell to bell, and that the school district, despite the writing of the law and the applicable bill, as well as some of the comments that legislators made during the legislative process, which I think some of you all have seen, that really the district does not have the option to engage in local control to work with families and students to make a decision as to when there might be opportunities during the school day for students to be able to use their personal communication device to communicate, say, with parents or with their work or with any other parties with whom they need to communicate during the day. But having said that, that's the expectation of the TEA. And the issue is that if the board does not comply with what is directed by TEA, that's going to lead to a likely process down the road that could lead to additional sanctions where the agency would look to force one way or another that the school district and the school board comply with its interpretation of House Bill 1481.
Can you, just for purpose of the discussion and in the open, what does that process look like beyond today? Let's say we decide to maintain the policy that we have as of this minute. What does that look like?
So the agency would obviously learn that the district, that the board decided not to change the policy, and thereafter the commissioner and the agency would look to issue a more formal report with its findings. The board would have the opportunity to respond to whatever those findings are, and my guess is that the findings will be that the district is out of compliance. There would be that review process where the commissioner would take into account the district's responses to the agency's report, and then from there the commissioner can proceed to issue a final report which would have specific consequences, sanctions, directives that are issued to the district and the board specifically to engage in compliance with what the commissioner wants. And ultimately, if that is rejected, then we end up probably in a situation where litigation would ensue. Now, the issue with that is that litigation, of course, would be expensive and take a significant amount of time. But in the end, we've already been hearing that there's likely to be a cleanup bill to this, where the legislature would have the opportunity in the next legislative session, which starts, I think, this time next year, to go in and make whatever changes to that law that it feels necessary to do. And so rather than engage in what could be costly, protracted litigation, the district could certainly choose to comply and then try to work through the legislative process to get legislators to work with you to try to incorporate the kind of local control elements that you are looking for and that has seemed to have worked well for the district up to this point.
What are the possible or range of sanctions that either you have seen or that would be available for the TEA to impose?
Well, that could be the appointment of a conservator. That could be all the way to the appointment of a board of managers. If the commissioner and the agency were to determine that the district was completely out of compliance and disregarding TEA directives, that's available to the commissioner to engage in. That's not to say that that would happen, but again, by not complying with what the agency's expectations are and the interpretation that it has provided for the application of House Bill 1481, those are the kinds of options that are available to the agency.
I just lost my train. Oh, we haven't received, other than the granting the extension of us taking action, because originally it was by the end of last year, December 31st.
Right.
They gave us an extension to January 31st. We have had no other communication with TEA at this point?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just waiting to see what is going to happen.
Okay. Do I have any trustees who have any questions or comment? Ms. Villarreal? And then we'll go to Ms. Cox.
Okay, I have a question. Does the commissioner set the law?
No, the legislature sets the law, and then from there, the law is applied and enforceable by the decisions that the board makes wherever there is opportunity within the law that's written to engage in local control. As we've argued to the agency, which we've never heard response to our legal arguments, that there's provisions in the education code that say that any time that there is not anything specific that is required by the law, then it is up to and a matter of the local school boards to make decisions about how to comply with or otherwise enforce those laws.
So, in your opinion, the commissioner is overreaching his authority in demanding that we do this, unless maybe I'm incorrect in this, thought process, but have they made any changes to the law? Is there anything else? And
No.
so the law stands as it was when we originally voted on this. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Where
Yes.
it gave us the ability to make the decision what we considered our right. Okay, so I'm going to have to stand with, I won't be bullied.
Understood, and that's ultimately the decision that the board is needing to make as a body corporate.
Ms. Cox, did you have anything else, Ms. Verlin?
No, I just wanted to make sure I understood the chain of command on this thing, and that everybody else understood that maybe this commissioner might be going out of his arena a bit.
Well, for what it's worth, I think what has occurred is that there has been some pressure from legislators who worked on that bill to the agency to sort of follow hey, this is what we want to see happen. And I think the agency has been left in a position where it's caught between legislators and, of course, the idea of local control. And the idea is, well, the board should not have local control, and school day means bell to bell, and that's what we believe that it means as legislators, and that's how we want the agency to handle the interpretation of that. But as you all have seen in some of the documents that I've shared with you, I mean, the agency's initial guidance was that school boards could define what school day meant. Certainly there have been comments by legislators that, again, some of you have seen, where they talked about the idea that local control would apply to how the law was going to be applied. The goal of this bill, and I don't think that the board disagrees with the goal, is that classrooms, instructional time, should definitely be free of the distraction that occurs with the use of personal communication devices. That includes cell phones.
Well, write a better bill.
Yeah, well, and for what it's worth, I think that's going to happen when the legislature comes back around in 2027. I think there's going to be a cleanup of this bill, and that could include and that's why it's difficult to say, well, you want to have a long, drawn-out fight. I understand. But in the end, you'll expend resources for that and then end up in a situation where the ledge could come back later and say, well, now we are going to write a bill that defines school day in the law to mean bell to bell. Hopefully that wouldn't be needed because you'd be able to partner with your legislators and get sort of a better outcome, but that's certainly well within the legislature's province to be able to do that.
Well, see, I'm in the position where I actually experienced, a health issue with my husband who had cancer. And so we had to have, in his last stages, we had to have communication with my son. So I think taking that ability for parents to communicate with their children, especially by legislators who are saying to us that we need to give parents more rights, now all of a sudden we're taking the rights away from the parents who need to have communication with their kids. Now that's illogical to me. So I'm going to be quiet now and let my esteemed colleagues do it, but I will not be bullied. This is ridiculous.
Understood.
Yeah, so I'm having a bit of difficulty with this as well. I'm very aware of the distraction and harm cell phones can cause, but what I want to do, if you'll just humor me for a minute so that I am making the correct decision and knowing that I want to be a good steward for the district and not have any money spent that's not necessarily needed to be spent. But from what I'm understanding, the original bill was filed. This is HB 1481. And in that bill, the author did say that the Board of Trustees shall adopt policies prohibiting students from using personal cell phones during instructional time. There is public testimony to this March 18th where she's asked that, and she says, no, we are allowing local control. Phones have to be up and away during instructional hours. School districts can decide how extreme they want to make it. So then when the bill was actually enrolled in May, the language was changed. And it was changed to prevent not letting a kid use a personal communication device while on school property during the day or at a school event. So then July 31st, TEA released guidance document for 1481, like it does for all legislation. And it also says on that page, if you go to that page on the website, this guidance is subject to change. As far as I can tell, it has not been updated. So the TEA could have gone back in to update it to bell per the legislation, but they didn't. They left it in the notes to say, to provide students, families, and staff with necessary clarity, it is important for each school system to define the terms school property and school day. A school may need to define use and possession for purposes of this policy as well. So who ultimately has, I guess I'll just ask this again so I make sure I understand, who ultimately has the control or the authority to regulate what has to be included in the school board policy? Because it looks to me like the legislative piece changed, but the TEA guidance did not change. So I'm confused as to why then we are being asked to revise the policy.
Well, that is the position that we took exactly, which was that since school day was not defined in the bill as it passed, then it was up to, as you saw in the TEA guidance, the school district, the individual board of trustees, to define what was meant by school day. So, of course, the district did what it did, which was to work with students and parents, and that was a process that, as you know, Dr. Micah had begun even before the passage of the bill, to work with students and parents to get feedback as to what that should look like. And, of course, that's where we took the position that we get to define what school day is, because that's a matter of local control. And I cited a number of other provisions through the education code that talk about where something is not specifically deemed to be a power of the agency, or to the commissioner, or to the state board for educator certification. That is reserved and a matter for the local elected school board to decide. But again, the agency has taken the position, and not through the issuance of any direct response to our legal arguments, but instead just taking the position that it is directing you that you need to change your policy to ensure that school day now means bell to bell.
So TEA hasn't given us, the district, any specific reasons as to why our policy is not in compliance?
Other than citing that it believes that school day just simply means bell to bell.
But that's not
that's right, it was not included in the law. That is the agency's
Or in their
interpretation.
guidance.
Right, that is the agency's interpretation, that it is forcing the district to engage in this corrective action plan to comply with that
So
approach.
in your professional opinion, are we in compliance with TEA directives?
In my opinion, yes. The policy as written was intended to comply with that, but of course, that was before they issued a corrective action plan, where now you are facing the possibility of protracted legal process or potentially facing sanction if you don't agree to comply with the corrective action plan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lopez.
What's the, put you on the spot, order of magnitude of time and resources that we would have to commit to?
Significant. And, I mean, it's hard to put a price on that because you simply don't know where litigation may go. But this is the kind of issue that if it went to litigation, would be litigated out in courts, potentially going to an appellate court, going to the Texas Supreme Court. And again, in the time that it takes to get through all of that, you're going to be into the next legislative session where the legislature could pass a sort of cleanup bill, if you will, to go back in and address these issues. So even if you ultimately prevail, if the law is changed and all of a sudden there is a definition that is included in a bill that specifically says school day for purposes of this bill means bell to bell, then that's what ultimately would become the law.
And related to that, or not related to that, but similar, are you aware of any other districts that are being targeted by TEA for their FNCE local policy and or personal communication or personal electronic device policies?
No, I mean, Alamo Heights was another district that received a letter from legislators, from 3 legislators, basically demanding that they make the change to the policy. And that was just a letter from legislators.
I know in the news, this was a couple of months ago, there were 1 or 2 districts that were talking about allowing kids to bring laptops to school and that type of thing, and I don't know if you've heard of any of those. I know we asked them that specific question.
We
I
did.
don't think we got a response.
We did not get a response, and I am not aware that there have been special investigations or special complaint investigations opened with respect to those districts.
Ms. Landry?
Okay. Are there other areas within our policy or within the district where we define school day specifically for the purposes of operations for our schools?
I know that there is sort of the designation of the instructional minutes that are utilized to count towards the 75,600 minutes that are needed for the instructional year. So there is definitions where we are able to define what that instructional time is going to be.
And if I'm not mistaken, that instructional time only counts for the time in the classroom, not in passing periods. So we've already defined prior to this bill that our school day is instructional time only.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we have, yeah.
And since we've implemented the policy, and I guess, Mr. Jarrett, this question is for you, have we had any complaints, feedback, anything from parents, families?
I haven't heard anything. I know Mr. Menace and I and Dr. Micah had asked principals, and pretty much the kids have been in compliance from my understanding. And so I think striking the balance between home and school was achieved. And so I think it minimized a lot of the concerns that came up about cell phones.
Okay. And then I was looking at our policy, and I was looking at the legal framework, and the legal policy is from 2019 and about pagers. And we don't have a legal, usually we have the legal and the local policies. They kind of give us a little bit of guidance of what the spirit is of the expectation. And we just didn't get anything from TASB, or?
I think we got in that update, when that came before us, I think the legal is, it either is updated and just hasn't been posted, if I'm not mistaken. We'd have to go back and look at the documentation, but I think it's out there.
There were a lot of bills that came through, as you all know, from this past legislature, more than usual. And there were a lot of things that schools had to do by certain times at the beginning of the school year, right around the beginning of the school year. Unfortunately, the TASB Policy Service sort of was caught a little bit flat-footed with all the different policies that had to be updated, including legals, proposed locals that they give to you all. And so there was just a lag between the time that the legal policies were released for not just House Bill 1481, but for a lot of bills. And by the time they were adopted, and then there's always a lag time by the, when you notify TASB, hey, can you update our policy manual, before they actually upload all of the policies once you have approved them. So that may be the issue. But ultimately, I mean, there should have been an updated policy already as part of one of your
in there, but
right.
components.
But the legal is not, and the legal is typically just that. It's just a description of what the applicable law is for whatever issue is being covered by that policy. But again, I think there was just a considerable amount of lag time before they could get to updating all of those policies as a result of the legislation that came forth from that session.
Okay. I think the feedback I've had is the parents prefer to have some access to their students. And I agree with Ms. Cox. It's a distraction in the classroom. But to what extent would it be a distraction in the hallway? Probably not as great of an impact to the school day. And then, if I'm not mistaken, our schools, each individual school has the leeway to define their own policy. And I think some of our schools have said bell to bell.
Yes, the policy that you set was establishing what we'd call the floor, right? So that's the minimum. But certainly schools were able to work, and were encouraged, I think, by the administration to work with their families and their students to see what's appropriate for their needs. So there are some schools that either can do bell to bell if they so choose, that's what's best for them. I think there are some schools that were only allowing it for a certain passing period of the day for a few minutes. There were, I believe, some that just allow it for a certain period of time at lunch and then it goes away. But I can tell you that just from the standpoint of what I'm learning, and I know others would be able to speak to this as well, we have not seen, at least it hasn't reached me, that there's been a significant number of violations by students of whatever the rules are applicable at their particular campus. I think kids in general are, as the information from Mr. Jarrett says, they're pretty much in compliance. I think kids were, the general feeling that we've seen is just tell us what the rules are and we'll follow them. I mean, that's generally been the attitude of the campuses and the students there. So we haven't heard that this has caused any sort of significant disruption to the operation of the schools.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Chigi, Ms. Chigi and then Ms. Thompson.
Sure. So I too have really only heard positive, and a lot of positive. Before, when we get feedback via email, I mean, we always get both sides and passionate. Really, it was a lot more than I've ever received in emails, and it was all thanking and positive, and often they had a story that was just heartfelt and they needed to communicate with their students. So I am definitely proud of us for standing our ground on this. I do feel bullied. When you went through the sequence of events of what would happen next, what would the timeline be? And I know it's a guesstimate, but before we would have to go to litigation. My concern now is it's always difficult to change a policy mid-year. And it's not on us. It's on the teachers and the administration and the parents that already have a system in place. And I just wonder, how much time would we have before litigation would begin? Or is that a guess?
It's a guess, but as a best guess, as an informed guess,
Yeah,
I would
best
say
guess.
that if the board chooses not to comply with the corrective action plan by the deadline, which is the end of this month, January the 30th or 31st, then the agency would probably pick that up pretty quickly and move to the next step. And I would imagine you'll see something within 30 days after that. And from there, we would have the opportunity to respond within 30 days of that. And then from there would be a final report issued. Again, I'm going to guess pretty quickly after that. And then if the decision at that point is that we now got to go fight in court, you're looking at probably before the end of the semester. That's my best guess of the timeline as this would play out. And again, it's an expenditure of resources, and I understand that there's certainly a need to want to work with families who are supportive of the policy. I mean, as a parent myself, I certainly agree that the policy benefits everyone, but I'd be remiss in telling you that, unfortunately, I think in the long run, the agency has proven to engage in sanctions that in the long run have been upheld by courts. And so, it's a risk that you'd run. And again, my issue with it is that when the new legislative session starts, they can address this by making some changes to the bill. And then that could effectively end the challenge and the issue, because if the legislature comes out and defines specifically what they mean by school day in that legislation, then that's going to be where courts would say, well, that's what we have to apply. So that's the issue. I know it's not a good situation one way or another.
Ms. Thompson.
In the end, what I find problematic is the fact that we are being told what to do when our job is to control locally. It concerns me that instead of giving a response to our legal case, we are told what we are having to do, and that bothers me. I don't want to change the rules that we have set up in the middle of the game. It is too hard on our families, on our staff, on all of the supports that we have. Whenever I make policy choices, I am considering students, staff, stakeholders, and stewardship of our district. And I talk with those people every day, and they are happy with what we have set in place currently. And I really don't want to go against what our purpose is here for, which is to serve our local community.
I think Ms. Cox had her light on first, and then we'll go to Ms. Villarreal.
Do you have any thoughts or feelings as to why we haven't had a response as to the specific reason?
So
what's wrong with our policy?
The law with respect to special investigations provides the agency and the commissioner with the ability to issue a corrective action plan in lieu of issuing any sort of report. And the idea being that, look, if I issue a corrective action plan and the district follows it, well, then the matter becomes closed and there's no need to engage in issuance of reports or any further need to continue the investigation. So that is what's being exercised here.
So they can issue that, basically tell us what we need to do to be in compliance, but without giving any specifics as to why.
Right. We have not had any specific response to our various arguments that we submitted, and I think you all have been provided with copies of what we submitted to the agency.
To me, it sounds like we're a test case. And if they can push us on this, they can push us on anything. And it's like a little, you give an inch, they take a mile. And I think if we give even an inch on this, they're going to start, trying to control everything and overrule anything that we do, and so effectively rendering us completely neutered as a board. And we represent our communities. They don't represent our communities. They don't live in our community. They don't know the needs of our people. So I just think that they're trying, this is something, they didn't write a bill that was specific enough. And so they're trying to bully our district. We're one of the biggest in the state. And so they're trying to bully our district into compliance so that they can then use that, because there's always going to be the next issue and then the next issue and the next issue. And they will say, oh, well, they stopped, they went ahead and did what we said, even though our bill wasn't correct and it wasn't specific enough. And they'll always be bullying us. We will always be in this position because bullies never stop. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
Any other questions or comments? One thing I do want to add, we don't have a good option in either of these situations, because we maintain our policy and then we run the risk of expending time and resources that we're already tight on. Or worse, we have somebody sitting here in the boardroom making the decisions for us. We don't change the policy, and we've now acquiesced to an entity that hasn't given us any kind of indication as to why we are not in compliance. And we upset an entire community of people that have put their trust in us. And so we're in a terrible position right now for all of this. One thing I do want to say, regardless of how this goes today or tonight, is that the 7 of us, we have to stay focused on what this district is doing, especially with an interim superintendent at the helm. We cannot let these things become a distraction. And so we've got to make sure our schools are passing. We have to make sure our kids are graduating. We have to make sure that our budgets are tight. We have a $400+ million bond that's getting started. And although I'm willing to fight this, I also, at the back of my mind, realize that I'm entrusted with making the decision that balances all of these things. And so I just want to make sure everybody understands that we have to stay the course and stay focused on making sure this district doesn't get distracted by things that pull us to the side. Because we've seen that over the years, and it's does no good here, and that carries down to everybody in every school and the community. So
I respect your opinion, and I do, and I understand, and the last thing I want to do is spend our taxpayers' money fighting a situation that could ultimately resolve itself, either one way or another. However, I think we're on a slippery slope, and I think that TEA is overreaching, and they know they're overreaching, and they're testing us, they're testing our boundaries, they're testing our line, and we've got to decide, are we going to draw the line in the sand and stand our ground? I think it's a discussion, what we would be looking at in legal fees. I think it's a discussion where, do we want to let our community down and just say, well, the TEA, they pushed us around and, we let them do it. And so I'm really sorry, we told you we could do this, but now it's all of a sudden we can't. Or do we stand our ground? Because trust me, there's going to be a next time. There's going to be something else that they decide. We're going to have a few little legislators up there who want to, show their might. And we're going to be hit again. And we're going to continually, feel this. Yeah. So do we want to stand our ground with this, or do we want to stand our ground on another thing where it could be even worse?
Yeah. And I don't disagree with anything you just said. I'll just leave it there. So, any other comments or questions? With that, do I?
I just say I don't know how to make this decision. It's
Well-
because if you make it one way, it's incorrect. It's not the way that it's supposed to work. But then the other way, we could run the potential of not being good stewards. So it's like you're between a rock and a hard place.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm all for phones not being where they don't need to be, but the toothpaste is out of the tube.
Right.
This is part of how we function now. And so I think, I don't know, I'm really struggling with this because I'm also perplexed as to why we didn't get a paragraph or two about why we were out of compliance.
And
That
we're
bothers
not.
me the most, I think.
Yes, and
It
we're
just
not.
faulted to a legalese.
And we're not going to get it. We will not get an answer. At all. Yeah. So.
Do we have the option to amend the policy and make the policy effective the beginning of the next school year?
So the agency's position is they want the policy changed, or it wants the policy changed as quickly as possible. However, given the discussion tonight and kind of what I'm hearing from all of you, I mean, there's nothing, you have until the end of the month. There is certainly one more board meeting I think you're scheduled to have before the end of the month. What I could do is certainly approach the attorney at the agency who I've had communications with on the extension and see, look, if there was a desire to go ahead and comply with the corrective action plan, in the interest of ensuring that families have plenty of lead time and campuses have lead time to make an appropriate change, can we have more time and make our policy change effective at some point later than just immediately? And see what the agency responds on that. It might be willing to work with us given the concerns that are expressed not just through you all, but from the community about this, to say, look, maybe they'll allow it to where, look, we'll change the policy, but it may be effective at a later date, and that's not because we're trying to be, we're trying to declare war on anybody, but instead we're just trying to make sure that our campuses, our administrators, and more importantly, our community has enough time to make adjustments as needed. And that's something that I can approach and probably communicate with you all in terms of what I hear back from the agency.
Would it
Sorry,
be
go ahead, I just interrupted you.
beneficial at all for us to individually write letters to the agency with some of the anecdotes and the facts of, some of our schools or currently have different variations of the policy? We've received the feedback from the parents and the families. We, in fact, did have a school day defined prior to the law being passed, and so intended to include school day as previously defined, and not trying to be argumentative or disrespectful, but applying as our schools.
There's certainly no harm in that at all. And that's what I would intend to go back to them with, is to say, look, work with us, because it's very difficult for us to change mid-year, given that everything that we've done works for our schools. So in the interest of trying to achieve compliance with what the agency is asking or directing, and also trying to meet the needs of our campuses and community, it might make sense to say, look, we'll change the policy, but it could be effective at a date certain, again, for the purpose of saying we want to give families as much lead time as possible to be able to make adjustments, to be able to give schools sort of some time to plan as to what that might look like. And yeah, there might be schools for, of course, those who have already said, well, we don't allow it except for 5 minutes a day. Well, I mean, it's not going to be much of a change for them, but there might be others that will. And so either way, that could be an option that the agency may be willing to work with the district to achieve that. And that's certainly something that I could get to work on as quickly as possible, and seeing whether we can get some cooperation from the agency in that regard.
And I think similar to Ms. Cox, I would like to add in that, to ask one more time whether it's beating a dead horse or not, as to actually respond to our
Our legal ordinance that we've made.
case.
Sure.
Because I think if, as been stated by, I think everyone up here, that we don't know what we did wrong.
Right.
And
We don't.
at this point, you're just telling us to do something, and there's been no explanation. And whether we get a response to that or not, I don't know. But I think it would be reasonable to ask for, we're midstream, can we get through the rest of this year as we craft whatever that needs to happen, and ask for whatever that extension might be.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, again, it would demonstrate that, look, it's, again, nobody's trying to thumb their nose at anybody. It's really about serving the needs of the community, which the district has been doing all year long with respect to this issue. So it makes sense, and perhaps the agency would be willing to allow us that opportunity. And so I'm willing to fight for that, and that's a lot less costly than engaging in protracted litigation, where really, in the end, nobody may win.
I have one more question. And Mr. Jarrett, is it possible to find out in relatively quick order how many schools we're talking about that will be impacted if we have to change the policy? Like, how many have already adopted it bell to bell? I saw a Roosevelt advertisement that had bell to bell on a little card. How many have done that?
Yeah, we can absolutely get that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Thompson?
And just as a point, I would love to work with TEA on points of convergence in the next legislative session about what this looks like in reality for schools.
And again, as stated earlier, there appears to be not just this issue, but other issues with this whole bill that the legislature is going to have to revisit. So having a seat at that table and being able to work with them and demonstrate that the use of personal communication devices can be achieved in a way that meets the needs of not having them be distractions in classrooms, but also meet the needs of those parents who say there might be times, as you pointed out, Ms. Fee, that there might be a medical issue or emergency where they have to get in touch with kids. So that's where you want to be when it comes back around to this being revisited by the legislature. You definitely want a seat at that table to find those points of convergence, for sure.
And I think Mr. Jarrett has mentioned, he mentioned to me, I know that one of the things on his radar, and Mr. Bywater's, is to get us in front of folks, and maybe not us specifically, but the district in front of those decision makers to help influence some of that, and try to have that conversation about how is this practically working versus what we think it's, actually working. So, is everybody comfortable with that position at this point? So at this point,
Okay.
we'll take no action on the actual policy itself, but we'll get a report back here over the next couple of weeks and see where we go.
All right, will do. I'll
Thank
keep
you.
everybody posted. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Item 12, new business for possible board action. A, board policy. 1, possible action regarding board policy update CH local. Is that Mr. Jarrett or Ms. Rueda, I believe? There she is.
Sorry, I had to lower the microphone. Good evening, Mr. President, board members, Mr. Jarrett, executive staff, and guests. Tonight we bring to you the possible action regarding an update to board policy CH local. It's as a result of the changes that were made in the legislation this last session, where they made a change to Texas Education Code 44.031, which governs a lot of our rules and regulations for procurement. Specifically, it increased the procurement threshold from $50,000 to $100,000. And so this particular item, what we're asking for is, and what we're recommending is that we update our local policy to match our legal policy. It was not included in the update 126 from TASB, which is why we are bringing it to you all as a separate item. And I'm here to answer any questions. We will continue to maintain the regular oversight that we do on our purchase orders and all of our purchasing rules and regulations, and we will maintain our internal controls that we currently have in place.
And to clarify, when you say maintain all the current controls, that you are still looking at the $50,000 threshold internally.
Correct. So our
However,
internal, we would be moving it up, if we get approved, we will move it up to the 100K, in which case that affects like which POs we bring to you for individual purchases. So instead of having an over 50K list, you'll now have an over 100K list, which would allow us to make those purchases that are between the 50 and 100,000 range a lot faster. Because right now when we plan for things, if it's over 50,000, I always tell the campuses and departments that if you plan on spending over 50,000, you got to let me know what board meeting you want it to be approved at. And so then we got to work backwards so that we can get those on those lists and whatnot. And so we'll do the same thing, but it'll be at the 100,000 mark.
And what I wanted to clarify, though, is that we are still looking at internally that competitive quote specifically for purchase over $50,000.
Correct.
We would still do that internally. It just wouldn't necessarily come to us unless it was 100,000 or more.
Correct.
So we're still maintaining internally what we've always done.
Yes. When it comes to quotes, we require in our purchasing manual where anything over 50,000 requires 3 quotes. And that's just so we are maintaining the idea and the integrity of making our purchases with the district's best value in mind. So we will continue to do that, and it will still be required at the 50,000 threshold. So we can be more restrictive on certain things, but we can't be less. So we couldn't say, even though the state increased it to 100,000, well, we're going to increase our quotes to 150. No, we can't do that. So we will be more restrictive in that regard.
Okay. Sorry, Ms. Villarreal, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, this is just curious. I'm just curious about this. What is it that would push to $100,000? What are you talking about? Is it, what type of goods would
So
we
it's
be
large purchases. Like right now with all of our bond funds, a lot of our bond projects are going to be over 100. We're going to have to bring those to you guys. Technology purchases, sometimes when they're in the aggregate, if they're going to be way over 100, we're replacing all laptops. That'll probably come too as well. But it allows us to do little things like if we need to buy a truck. Normally in the past, like 10 years ago, the purchase of a truck was $35,000. Now we're up to 70. If we keep it at the 50, we have to bring it to the board. We bump it up to 100. We don't have to do that. We can make the purchase immediately, and we can get the truck on the road for deliveries and whatnot.
What type of oversight do you, because what this kind of concerns me is that it could, suddenly people could say, oh, well, we can buy the truck now, or we can do this, or we can do that.
Right.
It's justifiable expenses.
Correct. We review every expense that comes into our office. There are 3 different levels of approval. So a campus may put in a requisition, and before it becomes a purchase order, it goes through a buyer who reviews the items that are being purchased. They check it for compliance, they check it for vendor approval and whatnot. And then at the 10,000 mark, our contract administrator is allowed to approve any POs at the 10,000 mark. Anything beyond that then comes to review for either myself or through our director of purchasing. And then we take that dollar amount, if it's over 50 right now, we go look at that list that we've compiled at the beginning of the year to make sure the board has already been approved for it. And if not, then we bring it to the over 50K list for the next board meeting.
How can we be sure that things that are not justified, things that you wouldn't want to end up on the news, let's say, would be, eliminated? Let's say, somebody brings you an invoice for something over 50,000, and do you guys scrutinize it? Do we really need X, Y, Z?
So we look at things. I don't know what everybody needs all the time. We look at the items. We look for appropriateness and reasonableness, right? That's what our auditors are always pressing. And so we if we see something that looks a little weird, we do press back and ask, like, what exactly are we doing here? What is this for? And once we get the clarification, then that's a little bit different. So, and if it's something that we think is a bit excessive, then we do tend to take it up to executive staff and go, hey, you might want to look at this. We don't know if we need to hold this and we get further explanation because, again, we don't know what everybody buys and what they need it for. It'd be impossible to know what everything is for. But the things that do look a little weird, we constantly are asking ourselves, like, is this appropriate, or why would we need this? And then we go out and ask for clarification.
Do you use detailed descriptions of the items that you are purchasing if it's a large volume or large dollar amount?
Right. A lot of times a large dollar amount item comes with a contract. And if it comes with a contract, then I read every line on that contract to make sure that we are protecting the district and that we're looking at the things that we are purchasing. And again, if it's something that I think, like, I don't know what this is for, let me go get some more clarification, then I'll take it back to the executive director for that department. And then from there, if we need to get further information from the chiefs, then we do that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Landry.
Thank you. So I completely understand the ability for expediency and getting some of these things that are needed more quickly. But we did receive an email from a community member concerned about the transparency. And I was wondering if, so currently when we receive that report, there's line items and that's public and it goes into our packet and all of the community and we all have the ability to review any of those larger items. $50,000 in today's money it doesn't go as far as it did 10 years ago.
Correct.
But it's still a lot of money.
Yes.
And
yes.
so is there a way for us to strike a balance for that transparency and ensure that those large purchases and those dollar amounts are posted publicly so that the community still has visibility to that information while we increase that dollar amount that has to come to the board, but we still have that checks and balance to be able to ensure that the public in our community that we are being diligent and we are being fiscally responsible.
Right. So we are required to post our check register. And so through the check register, they can see any transactions that we've made from any of the bank accounts. And those are publicly posted on a monthly basis.
And so are those purchases, so when they come to us in large sums, do they always correspond to a register item in that same amount?
Correct. Well, it depends on how it was billed. I mean, sometimes they'll break up invoices according to maybe milestones. Like if it was a large project and we've met milestone 1, we're going to pay out this much. We've met milestone 2, we're going to pay out this much. For large projects, you often see that. So the check register may not officially match up dollar for dollar for the line, but if you go back and add up all the ones that we paid out for this time, then eventually they should all true up, right? So it just depends on how we're billed, and then how we're billed and how we pay the bill. That's what gets posted to the check register. But the public's always open, is allowed to suggest or request an open records request. And then we can provide the purchase order that ties to that particular dollar amount. And that's where you'll see the line items and what we've procured.
Ms. Landry, I think Mr. Jarrett might have.
Yeah, maybe I can make a suggestion. One of the things that maybe, and this is really for you, Valerie, could we provide the board a monthly report of items that are over $50,000 or more? It's not necessarily a consent, but for transparency purposes, you're fully aware. And then if there's something that is glaring or concerns that's popping up, then that gives you an opportunity to say something's off here or whatever the case is. So that way it's still, you're getting a report for transparency. We'll create agility to purchase things in a more rapid manner, but then we're still having that opportunity for people to see what's going on. Are you guys okay with that thinking? Valerie?
Yes, that's
okay.
fine. We can produce that report. And so it's for the over 50, anything over 50. Okay.
And that would be, I think, just sort of like our monthly packet that we get,
okay.
Open records request. But the things obviously that you have to bring to the board for consent will
right. It'll still be
brought
to the board separately as an over 50, over 100, whatever we agree on right tonight.
Yep.
Now, the only thing that I'm thinking about right now is that report would be, if it's coming from my end, it's any purchase order we produced. Not necessarily that it went all the way through or that it closed completely at that particular dollar amount. So you'll see, like, hey, we're anticipating spending $50,000 on this, but, ended up being 46. you'll get the list, but it'll say 50,000. It's not going to say 46 of what we actually spent. So there's two different reports. There's an AP report.
So my recommendation is
Mhm.
once the purchase have been complete,
Mhm.
so that way you know an exact amount that was spent,
Okay.
and then they would be fully aware. So
So
they
any
don't need to see
closed-
the in-between time because,
Okay.
to your point, it could be adjusted, but
yeah.
really where the purchase was closed off at, and then they get that report.
Okay, so it'll be a closed purchase order report for over 50K. Got it.
Any other questions, Ms. Chigi?
Well, and I think we've just struck a really good solution, but Ms. Landry made a good comment 10 years ago. $50,000 didn't mean as much as it means, or it meant more than it means today. How long have we been at 50,000? I feel like it's been a very long time, and with inflation, it's only reasonable that we increase that amount.
Right. This is my 19th year, and it's been the same dollar amount since I've been
Okay,
here.
I
So-
thought it had been well over 15 years.
Correct.
So, thank you.
Every public entity I've dealt with in my professional life, it's been, I mean, for 3 decades now, it's
Mhm.
been $50,000.
Right, and they increased it just to go ahead and modernize the rule, but also to, recognize the differences in market conditions and pricing at the moment.
Any other questions or comments? All right, with that, do I have a motion to approve CH Local as presented to us?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Chigi. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Landry, thank you. Roll call vote. Mr. Byer, aye. Ms. Chigi?
Aye.
Ms. Thompson?
Aye.
Mrs. Villarreal?
Aye.
Ms. Cox?
Aye.
Mrs. Landry?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes 6-0. Item number 2, possible action regarding Board Policy Update 126, number 2. Mr. Jarrett.
Thank you, Mr. President Byer. So this is number 2 of Update 126, and so our staff is here to answer any questions. You have been provided this information in your packet.
So as we've done in the past, I'm just going to start with the first one, and I will ask if there's any questions or comments, and then we will move on from there. So, getting started, we will start with CQB Local. Do we have any questions or edits? All right. CQD Local. None on that one. CSA Local. All right. Move on to DGBA Local. Mrs. Landry?
Okay, so on page 3 or page 38 in our packet, the last paragraph says if the complaint is not filed with the appropriate administrator, the receiving administrator must note the date and time the complaint form was received and immediately forward the complaint form to the appropriate administrator. Then on page 4, under general provisions, it says, let's see, received by close of deadline, somewhere in here it says by the appropriate, as long as it's received by the appropriate administrator or designated representative. So they're kind of in conflict with each other. One says that the date will be noted based on the date and time received by whomever receives it. And then this other paragraph says that it must be received by the appropriate administrator within the timely requirement. So I think that's a little conflicting. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do see a note where you're referring to. With the individual who may not be the appropriate administrator receiving it, that date, that they actually stamped that they received it would be the date that we note, so that it would be in that case filed by the deadline, because it says or designee by the close of business. So if that is received and date stamped to indicate they received it by the deadline, even though it may not be by the appropriate individual, then we would be able to acknowledge receipt of that.
So is that regardless of who receives it, that's the date we operate under?
Correct. We'll acknowledge receipt of it and then ensure that it is submitted to the appropriate administrator and acknowledge that it was received by the appropriate deadline.
So the last paragraph says that it's not timely if it's not received by the appropriate administrator. So
Last paragraph of
it's page 4 under general provisions, and it's the paragraph before the one that's all marked out. And it just says that if it has to be received by the appropriate administrator or designated representative.
Mm-hmm.
But then this paragraph doesn't declare that anybody receiving it could be the designated representative. It's kind of a technicality.
So perhaps clarification to identify that if it's not received by the appropriate administrator, that upon receipt by the individual who has received it, that date stamp would qualify it as being timely.
Something to that
effect?
Yeah, to that effect, or maybe just remove appropriate administrator from the last paragraph, since it's defined in the other paragraph.
The previous.
And that way it doesn't sound like there could be some technical
Conflicting.
reason that it wouldn't be accepted.
Understood.
So that last sentence would just read, the deadline, mail filings shall be timely filed if they are postmarked by the U.S. mail on or before the deadline and received by the designated representative?
Or just by the deadline.
Oh, by the deadline.
And then leave.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So
And
just
then
strike and received by the appropriate administrator and designate. Okay.
Right.
And then the prior part of that same paragraph there, where it says hand-delivered filings, strike through there as well.
Right.
Does that create any kind of procedural issue? I mean, because I guess, yeah, if we're saying that doesn't matter who receives it, we have to postmark it, and that's the date that we operate under, then
Yeah.
that seems to make sense.
Yes. Thank you. That clarity will be helpful to ensure no confusion.
Any other questions on this one?
I do have one more question. Is Mr. Lopez still here?
Yes.
Okay. On page 8 of this policy, under audio recording, in the last the last sentence of that paragraph, it says the employee shall notify all attendees present that an audio recording is taking place. I looked up the law, and it's a one-party state.
Mm-hmm.
So do we have the authority to say they shall notify when they can, in Texas, they can record without anybody else?
Right, it's a one-party consent state. I mean, as a matter of local control, you would have the ability to do that. And I think the purpose behind having that is that if there is going to be a recording made, what we typically would do under those circumstances is if the employer, the grievant, is recording it, then the district would also bring out a recording device to record it so that there's not any dispute about the record, so that the record is accurately captured and that both sides then have their own record to reflect that it's accurately captured.
And so should it say shall notify all attendees, or?
Well, you could include a statement that says shall notify all attendees to ensure that in those circumstances, the district would also prepare a recording of the meeting as well. Does that make sense? So that because the whole intent behind it is not to be nefarious. It is
Right.
instead to be that if you're recording, then I'm going to record too as the grievant administrator, so that way there's an accurate record on both sides, and that way everybody's safeguarded in terms of what is said and there's accuracy in what is captured during those recordings.
As a standard practice, do we generally record those?
So at level 1, we do not typically record them unless there is going to be a recording made by the grievant. Level 2, those are typically going to be recorded because if there is going to be an appeal to the board, that's where, and I think you've seen it before in some of the other grievances that have come forward, there is a transcript that is prepared of the level 2 conference so that you have the benefit of reading that transcript in addition to all the documentation that goes back and forth. So typically at level 2, those are recorded and then transcribed if there is a level 3 appeal.
So should we change that to say, for the purposes of recording, if an employee desires to record, a notification should be provided to the district, as the district will have the option of recording
As well?
simultaneously?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, there can be wording to that effect, because that's really the purpose behind it, is again, just to ensure that if you're going to have a recording, that both sides record, so there's no disparity about the record later.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the only thing I would offer is that the way it's written is if the employee notified, I mean, it would be up to the district then to decide whether they wanted to record at the same time. I mean, that's how I read it, is that the employee says, hey, I'm recording this, and then the district, if they do or do not, that's sort of their prerogative.
I think the only thing is that we really don't have, we can tell them that they should tell us that they're recording.
Right.
But they don't have to because the law says that they don't have to.
Yeah, it's a one-party consent state.
Sure.
But and again, to achieve the purpose of this, which is really to ensure that we have accurate records when recordings are made,
Yeah.
then it's about, I mean, certainly anytime I'm involved in a grievance and an employee or an employee's attorney, and that's what would drive my involvement, if they say they're going to record, then I'll say, okay, then we'll also do the recording, so that both sides end up doing it, and that way there is, again, no disparity later about the potential for the record.
Okay.
So that's really the purpose behind it. It's really not meant for any other reason that I can think of for other than that.
So just explicitly state that.
Yeah.
What you're suggesting.
Yeah.
Any other comments on this one?
One more question.
Sure.
And this is actually, it's in F and G, but it's different in DGBA and GF. So in the, oh my goodness, the paragraph that talks about representative, and I think you touched on this a little bit, when the grievant is, oh, I'm sorry, it's page 63 for F and G, but it's under representative on DGBA on page 6 or 41. On the two policies, it says that the grievant must give 3 business days. And then on the F and G policy, it says 3 in business is scratched out. Or so should it be business days or should it be days? And if it should be days, should it be consistent for all 3 policies?
At the beginning of the, good evening, by the way. At the beginning of F and G, we defined business days or district days or business days. And so anything you saw that like calendar days or business days were crossed out because it implies days for the rest of the policy.
So the other 2 policies have business explicitly added in before days, and this one has business scratched out. So I know it's defined in all 3.
Right, so for F and G, that's defined as a business day at the beginning of the policy. And
Right,
so
all 3 have business day
anytime it says
defined.
day, it means business day.
Okay.
Right. I think what she's saying is that it's different. I mean, it all says the same thing, but in DGBA it says business day, and it actually added business back into it, and others just say day. I think F and G just says day, and it strikes the business. They all define day as business day, but it's just sort of a consistency issue, it sounds like.
Yes, because throughout DGBA, even though it was previously defined, as you noted, we did include business days as a specific reference anytime we were noting days.
So for F and G, can we just be consistent with that and put business back?
We can do whatever the board likes. Absolutely.
We would then just scratch out the paragraph that defines what a day is. If we just wrote business all the way down, we could just retract that piece.
Yeah, I mean, the other option is just take business out of everything and just leave everything as days. Well, if you
We would then
define
have
it
to
as-
add that paragraph to DGBA.
I think the goal is you just need to make it clear that for all three grievance policies, that day means district business day.
Right. it
Yes,
is
and
consistent.
that way it's consistent one way or another all the way around.
Right.
Yeah, so either you include a definition at the beginning of each of the three grievance policies that say, day, for purposes of this policy, means district business day. And then you have that in all three policies, and then you don't have to have the word business before day.
Right.
That would be the easiest way to do it, and that way there's consistency across all three policies.
So DGBA has it
Okay?
right at the top,
And GF has it,
and GF has it.
but F and G doesn't.
F and G, yeah, so then in F and G, you just define it that way. And then you add the same definition that for purposes of this policy, day means district business day. And then you don't have to have the word business before day and throughout the rest of those policies.
Ms. Chichi's looking at, FNG has it too. They all have it.
Oh, they all have it? Okay.
There was an update that was provided on Friday late.
So on, yeah, and I loaded the updates and made sure I was looking at the updates before I changed it. So on F and G local, specifically underrepresented businesses, scratched out or struck out. And on DGBA, businesses added, and then on GF, businesses added.
Yeah,
So in the same paragraph.
And that's what I'm getting at. Yeah, that word business is still in some of these policies.
Yeah, and so.
As an add, which we don't need to add. it
Yeah,
because
you don't
we
need that.
defined
As
it.
long as you define it at the beginning of the policy that day means district business day, then it does, the word business doesn't need to be added further into the rest of the policy, because that makes it very clear. So as long as all three of those policies include the definition at the beginning, then certainly the word business no longer needs to be inserted before the word day in the rest of the policy.
So on DGBA, we have the definition, and so we do not need the word business everywhere.
Right.
It's
Right.
been highlighted multiple times.
And that's also policy GF.
Yeah, and so when I get a GF, remind me, and we'll make sure that, I'm trying to keep note of which ones are being amended and not.
Okay, sorry.
Any other questions on DGBA? All right, moving on to EEP local. I actually have a question about this one. Do we have a regulation or anything on how we're going to have folks post their syllabus and curriculum and provide that communication to the families?
We actually post our entire instructional planning guide on our website by grade level and by subject, and that fulfills the planning guide for this rule.
Perfect. Any other questions?
Sorry, it took us a while to get up here.
No, sorry, no, I know that I didn't want that to be a burden on our teachers, knowing that some of them already do it. And so I wasn't sure if we had to be have some consistency, but if we already handle it through kind of grade level and everything, then that's
Yes, so
that's
it's
great.
community facing.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, policy FEF local. Any questions? All right, policy FFB local. policy FFF local. Policy FFG local. Yes, Ms. Gigi.
Wait a minute, are you on
FFG.
FFG? I'm sorry, no.
Okay. Now, FNG local.
So I have a couple of things. First, at the top, the blue is struck out. Is that intentional? On page 1 of 13.
Yeah, it looks like the
It was accidentally, the strikeout was used for blue.
completely missed it.
Yeah, it looks like the blue and the red are both struck out, and they say the same thing, so that must just be an error.
So both are gone.
Right.
Okay. Then the other thing I have is, and it's in many, many places, not many, but the word reasonable is in multiple places. And in some places, I don't think in all places, but I think in some of them, we could delineate what reasonable refers to in regulations, perhaps. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's intentional that it be reasonable, but.
Can you give an example?
Well, yeah.
One example is going to be, Ms. Gigi, if I may, with timelines. That the timeline, a reasonable timeline, or a reasonable amount of attempts to get the other party to have a meeting.
He's on page 6 of 13.
Those are a couple of examples of when they used reasonable.
And so in some of the cases, and I'm sorry, that's a good example. How many attempts? What's reasonable for you? It might be different than me. And I feel like a parent might say, well, you left it on my answering machine, but I don't, or you called me and I don't respond to numbers I don't know, or so, I just feel like in some of the, I would love for us to go through and look at where it says reasonable and try to clarify it in a regulation, if we could.
And that's discussion that we've had, Ms. Gigi, to do so. And I think using what Mr. Lopez said earlier about having a floor of what that reasonable would be, and I'm just making this up, but saying 3 attempts to contact a parent when you left a voicemail, or doing it in 2 different ways, or whatever it may be, as a floor. Doesn't mean that you can't do more, depending on circumstances, right? Because there's always something that comes up. And I think the reason why maybe it was left that way as a local policy is because if we try to think of all the different circumstances and all the different contexts, we would be coming to y'all all the time to say, oh, we left this out because this happened with this parent, and we really want to make sure that we can honor what they brought us because they did have an extenuating circumstance. So I think if we leave it as a regulation, as a floor, we still have some room to work with whatever the situation may be.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
I think we need to tighten up. I think the word reasonable means something different to different people, and it's in here a lot. So I didn't know if that was a possibility, so I appreciate you doing
Absolutely.
that.
I will say, just since you brought this up, the part where I think that we had a little bit more difficulty with this, and I don't know exactly to find it, but they talked about reasonable diligence on the parent's part.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's not an attempt. That's definitely a broader term to try to define what that looks like. But again, I think what we try to do as administrators is we really just try to look at what the context and what the situation is, and we make judgments based on that. And I'll see if I can find.
It's on page 3 of 13.
Thank you, Tyler. 3 of 13. I was actually right on there. You can see the bullet points in blue in the middle. 90 days and 30 days. Let's see.
It's on the first
90 days,
bullet.
it's on 90 days. Yeah. to file a complaint from the date the student or parent first knew or with reasonable diligence should have known. If y'all can help me define that, I'd be very happy.
I think that should be struck.
And I did ask if there was a legal definition for reasonable, and there's not, so. That's up to us, I guess, to decide, or quite honestly there, to me, it means you have to use some discretion on what the situation is, what the context is of whatever may have happened, and I think you have to take all that into account. But again, if we're looking for clarity, that's certainly not clear.
Well, I think you could take that out, or with reasonable diligence, should have known. Who says they should have? I mean, that's so subjective.
I think kind of what that means. So if you have an ARD that is scheduled, you make 3 attempts and you mail a letter home to the parents, but the parent's out of the country. Well, they reasonably can't access that letter. But if they're at home and they're checking their mail and they're just saying it's from the school and I don't open it, well, they didn't do their due diligence and open the mail. So that's kind of what that's probably getting at.
And I think 2 things to consider as well is that this new grievance policy does have extended timelines, 60 days up to 90 days. Provides a longer window for parents to be able to file a grievance. In addition, the district is required, and we always have in the past, is to respond to even grievance, even if it is in violation of a timeline. We still have to provide a written response to the parent, and that's outlined in the policy as well.
Can I say thank you for adding that informal process in there with that additional timeline? I think I hear that repeatedly. I talked to the principal. I thought we were heading somewhere, and having that in there, I'm so thankful for that. Thank you, guys.
All right. Do we have any?
I have one.
It's Ms. Cox.
It's FNG on page 2 of 13. Is there an explanation, number 16, complaints concerning on-campus distribution of non-school materials to students shall be submitted in accordance with FNAA. Why was that removed?
That was a TASB removal.
Okay.
Other districts didn't have it. We had that in there. It's one of those, I guess, traditionally passed down exclusions, but there's a process for that as well already. So there is an appeal process already out in Texas Education Code, so that's why they likely struck it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, so do we have, I guess, what are we either amending or editing on FNG? We've talked about a lot of different things, other than you all in the regulation are providing some guidance on the reasonable.
It's reasonable.
Okay.
Tighten that up.
Is there any other language we need to either edit or add or remove? Okay. All right, moving on to FO, local. All right. GF, local. I think other than the business day decision or edit, I think that was it on that one. Or Ms. Landry, do you have it? Okay.
And I mentioned that one for FNG before we got to FNG, but you got that right. We're all
Yes. Yeah. We'll do the. Thank you for the reminder. So we'll, on FNG, we will strike the word business because day
Right.
is defined as business day.
Well,
Yeah.
it's struck in FNG.
Is that, yeah, that's the one that's
We're
already struck.
striking it in the other two.
Yes, correct. So we'll leave that one as it is. Last one is GKA local.
I just have a question.
Yes.
So does this mean if you have a senior student who's 18, they can have a handgun in their vehicle in a student parking lot? Because I just need some clarification on that.
We'll call Chief McCampbell to the podium, and I'll give you the
Sorry,
page, Chief. But basically, it's about if they hold and meet state law. I mean, that's the first piece, is that the individual
Right, they have to have the
has to
carry.
be in accordance to state law.
Yeah, so what it is that anybody has a LTC, license to carry, may carry or have a handgun in their vehicle, locked or whatever, on school property. In order to get an LTC, you must be 21 years of age. So an 18-year-old wouldn't have a license to carry that would be allowed to have a gun in their vehicle while they're on campus during the day.
Thank you, that makes me feel much better.
Yeah.
Any other questions on that one? All right, I'm going to try to do this all in one motion, or I'll make the motion, but I move to approve the local policies presented to us as written, with the amendments to DGBA local, referring to the filing, sorry, I just lost my, I gotta go back, hang on, give me 1 second. Can't read my note. Where's DGBA? Well, it would be that, but there was one other item that I had on here.
It was
Let me
the
find it.
representative.
Yes, so, okay, so
Or-
I move to
no.
approve local policies as presented with edits to DGBA local, where we remove the sentence about filing under general provisions, provide the recording notification for both parties, and remove the word business since it's defined elsewhere. And also amend GF local to remove the word business as well. That is my motion. Do I have a second?
I have a correction.
Oh, yes, please.
So, and I apologize, I think you were going there and then I messed you up. DGBA local, under general provisions filing, strike the portion of the sentence that says and received by the appropriate administrator or designated representative.
Yes, thank you for the clarification. I accept the
And
amended motion.
I second that with the friendly amendment.
Thank you, and I accept your friendly. So, thank you, Mrs. Landry. We'll do a vote. Mr. Byer, aye. Ms. Chidgey?
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson?
Aye.
Ms. Villarreal?
Aye.
Mrs. Cox?
Aye.
Mrs. Landry?
Aye.
Thank you all very much for getting through that. Motion passes 6-0. Item B, Instruction and Campus Administration 1, discussion and possible action regarding targeted improvement plans. Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, Mr. Byer. I will call Dr. Nicole Lincoln, Executive Director for School Administration, to address this item, and also Ms. Brandy Merriman. Good to see you again, Ms. Merriman.
Good evening, President Byer, Mr. Jarrett, board members, executive staff, and guests. Tonight, I am here as the DCSI, which is the District Coordinator of School Improvement, along with Brandy Merriman, everyone's favorite. And we are going to review the targeted improvement plans for campuses required to submit one by our Texas Education Agency. Please note that a glossary of terms has been provided for you at the end of the presentation that includes words or phrases that we may use in our presentation that are not used all of the time. This presentation is an overview of the targeted improvement plans, but you've also been provided links to the full targeted improvement plans for each campus, along with some other guidance from TEA regarding the school improvement process. I also want to recognize our campus principals who are here tonight. They, along with their instructional leadership teams, dedicate a lot of time and effort to put the targeted improvement plans together to improve student outcomes through these strategic plans. And so I would just like to thank Delview Principal, Ms. Brittany Ballantyne, El Dorado Principal, Dr. Glenn Ford, Jackson Middle School Principal, Mrs. Denise Hinchman, the Lee High School Principal, Alex Escamilla, the Ridgeview Elementary School Principal, Veronica Garza, and our Wood Middle School Principal, Mr. Brad Hensey. Thank you all for being here tonight. I know it's late. Thanks for hanging in there with us. And, I have a clicker here. All right, here we go. So the outline of the presentation, we're going to do a quick overview of targeted improvement plans, talk about some of the requirements for our campuses. We are going to go over different types of improvement plans, which I'll get to in just a moment, for grant recipients, look at some student outcome goals, and then give you an overview of Domain 3, which refers to our Comprehensive Support and Improvement Schools, also known as CSI, and then go over the targeted improvement plans for those campuses. We're also going to have something a little bit different this evening as well, as going over the targeted improvement plans for our State Accountability Campus. So what you see here now is our overall guidelines and timeline for this year regarding the school improvement process. Some of these touch points will be expounded upon later in the presentation, but if you look at it, the orange is where most of our campuses fall. Well, every single one of our campuses fall. So if you look at that, we've done the ESF diagnostic that's there, we've done the superintendent consultation, and some of our campuses are beginning the flip support. So we are well on track. We've also submitted all of our tips thus far, and I have been in contact with TEA, which was the first step there. Okay, so this year is different. I want to make a different distinction here that's different than in previous years. So previously, tips were required for campuses that were comprehensive support and improvement CSI campuses. That was really based on Domain 3. There was a pause for a few years whenever there were some lawsuits that were going on, but this year is a little bit different because tips are also required for campuses who earned a grant through the 2024-2026 Effective Schools Framework. So those campuses also must submit a tip even though they have already exited CSI status. So that's different because these campuses are not an accountability concern right now in reference to that Domain 3, but because they do have dollars that are funded by the Texas Education Agency, this is the way that TEA is going to oversee our campuses and make sure that those dollars that we're fiscally responsible. And those two campuses are Ridgeview and Wood, and so you'll see those in a little bit. On the other side, the rest of the tips are going to be related to accountability, and then there's two different ones this year as well when it falls under accountability. We generally come to present tips for federal accountability, but this year there is a difference. So campuses who earn an F or 3 consecutive years of a D are also required to come up with a tip and then present that and have board approval. So that is different than the previous years. So right now what we're going to bring to you under federal accountability is Delview, which is year one progress. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second as well. El Dorado Elementary School and Jackson Middle School. And then under the state accountability is going to be Lee High School. Let me just go back to this. So even though you see year one progress, we're very happy that Delview already made progress, but all tips are a two-year process. So we're still going to talk about Delview tonight as well. Okay, so again, as I said before, ESF grant recipients. We were very excited when we were granted these dollars from TEA for two of our campuses, that's Wood and Ridgeview. So we are also happy that last year we came to you with their tips because they were under accountability, and we are happy that they both exited. So kudos to those two campuses and their staff for all the hard work they did. So their requirements are a little bit different. So they still have to have a DCSI, which again, I serve in that capacity. And my role is to really coordinate with the superintendent and with TEA to make sure all timelines are met, to make sure that each individual campus has their team, and then to be the oversight for all data and their plans as well. We also have to participate in the superintendent consultation call, which we've already done that with TEA, in which they're just asking about our plans, where we're currently at in that, any progress that we've made, and then they may bring out other concerns that maybe we have not yet addressed. We've already had that call. And then lastly, the target improvement plan for these specific campuses is a little different because they have a vetted partner. So with those dollars, of course, came some requirements, and one of those requirements was for us to pick from a list of vetted partners that TEA gave us. And so our campuses went through several different companies and organizations to look at who may fit their need based on what the local needs assessment had stated, and also the assessment diagnostic that we had from Region 20, and then they picked a vetted partner. So that was one step. So the target improvement plan must name who that is and talk about how we're continuing to partner with them. We also have to have student outcome goals. So TEA wants to know, as a result of these dollars, where do we hope that your campus is going to end by 25-26? And then each school has to have an improvement statement of strategy. We also have to solicit public feedback, talk to our stakeholders, present our plan to our stakeholders, and see if there's any recommendations that they have, and then define what capacity building and performance management is going to look like, and lastly, bring our plan to the board for approval, which again is why we're here tonight. So the first campus that we're going to talk about is Ridgeview. So Ridgeview is a continuation from the last couple of years. Again, even though they exited, we have evidence that what they were doing is working because they exited CSI, and so they're going to continue working on that. And so this ESF is, again, that's in your glossary of terms. Whenever Region 20 came out, they did an audit for a full day on the campus. They looked at PLCs, they walked classrooms, they had an administrator focus group, they had a teacher focus group when administrators were not able to be in there. So they really looked at the entire school day, and although we know it was a snapshot, they use all that information to determine what they feel we should work toward. And so they've done that for every single campus who submitted a tip. So this happened for Ridgeview several years ago, and so we're just continuing working on effective instruction and looking at data-driven instruction, which really, when you look at how that's spelled out, is about the PLC process. And so Ridgeview over the last several years has done a lot to improve their PLC structure. They're working with our district team to continue thinking about where they can refine their practices, what is missing, what is going well, celebrating those small wins along the way. And the campus is engaged in the district's PLC Academy as well. That's going to help support data analysis and alignment of instructional practices. This year, Ridgeview has also been partnering with our district team to work to support TELPAS and our EB students as well. So when you look at the next one there, capacity building is when they're asking us to define really what is our plan, who is going to be involved in training, what training is needed, how are we going to make sure that our teachers have the professional development that they need, that our administrators have, anybody who is going to help student outcomes. They would like us to define what is going to be happening for those people. Now, what you see is just a summary, because true to the name of Targeted Improvement Plan, they want us to really narrow down what we're going to be working on. So, but this is not all the work that the campuses are going to be doing. Campuses are still going to be implementing their campus improvement plans. They're still going to be implementing any district initiatives that we've asked them to in any local campus. So again, this is a summary based on really targeted information from the diagnostic that we've had, but everything that they've been working on is still going to be happening simultaneously. So the partner they've chosen to work with is E3 Alliance, and this has been over the last couple of years, and they've been working with them on the PLC process. They've done a lot of different surveys, a lot of trainings for teachers as well. The district C&I team is continuing to help this year with TELPAS in linguistic accommodation training. And then at the campus level, teachers are observing other teachers during instruction, and the instructional leadership team is providing feedback after their observations. For milestones, this is another part of the plan. TA is asking us to define what we are hoping to see as a result of this. And we want to look at this at least quarterly, but the plan is asking for us to tell us what this is going to look like by the end of 25-26. So you'll see that language throughout the presentation. So for Ridgeview, by the end of 25-26, what we're looking for is specifically math content area, and you'll see there what we're looking for proficiency. And these goals are vetted by our PANDA team, which our performance and accountability team, to make sure that what we are hoping to achieve is going to keep us where we need to be at. We're also looking at TELPA. So this came from the Domain 3 Closing the Gap score, just continuing to have a focus on making sure this subpop with our EB, our emergent bilingual students, that we're meeting their needs. And so we're looking at having a 46% in Domain 3. And then the last piece that each campus is supposed to report on is performance management. So now we've stated what professional development is going to be offered, who's going to be involved in that professional development, what we're hoping to see as a result of that, and the last piece is the performance management. How are you going to ensure that this is being done? And so that's what you see there on the bottom. So the instructional leadership team for Ridgeview is really going to be overseeing a lot of this work because they're in their third year at this point of this specific strategy. And then they're going to follow up with me as a DCSI during monthly visits. For this specific campus, I'm the DCSI, but I'm also the executive director that supports this campus. And so during our monthly visits, we'll be talking about this. And then our curriculum and instruction team will continue to monitor this during the think tanks. So now moving to Wood. Again, Wood is the other campus that was awarded an ESF grant. And so they exited status as well. And so their tip is a little different because they've chosen to focus on a different lever. So still looking at effective schools framework, they've looked more overall at systems, what systems need to be developed. And they're going to monitor those systems through observation and feedback cycles. So that's the first thing that you see there. So what they're hoping to continue doing is to create systems for instructional campus leaders to observe instruction and provide feedback to teachers that's actionable and timely. So very quick turnaround from the time that they're going and observing and then providing teachers with some type of feedback. They also have developed an instructional sequence and created a research-based instructional model for all classrooms. That was done with their vetted partner, which you'll see there. Next, they have the same vetted partner that Ridgeview does, which is really great for us as a district because we can see commonalities. We can talk about, even though they're working on different strategies, we can talk about things that they've done at other campuses. And we now have a great working relationship where I'm able to sit in on those meetings as well. So they've been a really great partner for us over these last couple of years. Again, they've developed an instructional playbook and instructional sequence. Now this year they revised the observation and feedback form to be more specific to look for the plays that they have developed, the different strategies that they want to see in every classroom. And they've also set goals for how many times they want to get into classrooms, which you will see that a little bit on the next under milestones. And then for capacity building also, one of the things that was different this year was TEA was asking more about central office personnel, what our experience was in turnaround campuses and everything like that. And so they're going to continue to have support through the district CNI in planning. The dean and IC get support as well. Our dean has a meeting with our executive director of CNI, our secondary executive director, Dr. Schaefer, weekly. And then myself, I'm also the principal supervisor, executive director for Wood. And so we will be meeting every week in some form or fashion. So the milestones for this campus are a little bit different because it depends on where the campus is currently at. And so this you will see over here is that at least 55 students will meet or exceed their growth projection from their fall to spring. So this isn't content specific. We're just saying overall for the students who take a MAP test, we want to see them be at least 55% meeting that growth projection. ILT is going to be conducting at least 40 walkthroughs per week on teachers, and I know that sounds like a lot, but it's possible, and they've been doing the work. And so the goal is that we're keeping an eye on instruction and making sure that we're seeing the strategies that we've really planned out, that we provided professional development on. And then 80% of students in targeted interventions will move to the next proficiency level. And that proficiency level that we're talking about is when we think about those buckets that Brandy always talks about, moving from the did not meet to low approaches and so on and so forth. And then how they're going to manage the plan is by bi-weekly meetings with the DCSI. We also have quarterly meetings with our central office staff, and that's our core team. That involves our learning support services, our SPED team, our technology team as well, our school administration executive directors, and then our executive directors from curriculum and instruction. And so we all come together to determine how we can support the campuses and for the campuses to report out their current status of their plans. The ILT will be looking weekly at all of the things that we said there to see to what degree they are doing what they said they were going to do, and then also through faculty meetings and family engagement nights, just keeping that transparency open with our families and saying, here's what we said we're going to do, and here's where we're at. I'm going to pause for a minute because that's just the grant recipients. Does anybody have any questions about grant recipients before I move to the next? All right. So moving right along, as I stated early in the presentation, this year is a little different because we also have targeted improvement plans that are due for any campus that did not meet state accountability ratings. And so we do have one campus that does fit that criteria. I'm going to turn it over to Brandy for her to go over this part.
I'm too short. Congratulations to Ridgeview and Wood. Their domain 3 scores went up 47 and 33 points for that one domain based on their goals that they've set for them. So I appreciate the hard work that they've done. State accountability, because of the state accountability being put on pause for the lawsuits, we haven't had to until recently. So if you're an F in any grade level, if you're an F, you're considered unacceptable. So a chain of 1 or more years of unacceptable performance must complete a targeted improvement plan, which is the TIP. So that's an F or 3 Ds in a row. For the 25-26 school year, we have one Northeast campus that we're adding for that 3 Ds in a row, and that would be Lee High School. For Lee High School, I'm going to continue with.
Oh, okay. So I'm not going to go over the entire piece because I went over this for the grants. It's very similar, except this campus or all other campuses must have this ESF diagnostic first, which is when Region 20 comes and does what I told you for the full day and looks at instruction. The rest of the process is the same, except they do not have a vetted partner. They now have the ESF diagnostic.
So for Lee High School, when you look at the state accountability, I went ahead and put up all 3 years. The domain 1's at the top, and you can see they've been at 67 for domain 1. For school progress, they've been at 73 and 74, and for closing the gaps, we're at 65 and 63. So when you look at your score for 3 years in a row, that's a D, and we will not accept that. We've been told by Dr. Micah many times, and I'm sure we all agree with that.
So thank you, Brandy. In summary for Lee's, when we look here, Lee is focusing on instructional materials. This is what the ESF diagnostic determined was going to be the best fit. And so there's going to be a lot of training on RBs, another acronym, research-based instructional strategies for their campuses, and they're going to focus specifically on math and ELAR for this year. So the goal is by the end of this year that all teachers have been trained and that they're going to see starting to work toward that 80% implementation. By this year, they'll have 60% there, and it'll be managed in the same way that we talked about from the previous campus with ILT. Okay, we're just moving on along. So the last group of schools we're going to talk about are those who are required to submit a targeted improvement plan due to federal accountability ratings. And so this is what we're probably more used to seeing. I'm going to have Brandy come up and just give us a reminder of that.
Domain 3 is the federal part. So you might recall that it's about STAR performance, growth, graduation, TELPAS, and college career military readiness. This is the one where they give you a score from 0 to 4 for every student group, which includes all students, your 2 lowest race ethnicities, your high focus student group, which is special education, emergent bilingual, economically disadvantaged, and highly mobile. So they give us a score for each one of those. So the TEA takes all the title schools and ranks them from highest to lowest. Then it determines the cut score, the 5% cutoff for each group, and any campus that drops below that 5% is considered CSI, Comprehensive Support and Improvement. For our district, we had in 2024, even though we didn't have state accountability, they did require federal accountability, and we had Delview identified for CSI. And then in 2025, we had 2 additional campuses, El Dorado, which is below the cutoff of 61 with a 54, and Jackson Middle School with a cutoff of 57 and a score of 49. So when you look at Delview specifically, they've already been 1 year in this. And so when you compare the 2 years, the year they were identified in 2024 and the year that they, the most recent year, 2025, you can see that they had improvement in just about every area. Their student outcome goals that we had set as a group and as a faculty, they met their goals in almost every area. You can see they even had improvement in some areas, but they didn't quite meet the goal. But their overall score for this campus went from, I don't remember. Is it on the next slide? So moving forward, they have set some goals. So they have the 2025 score in gray and their goal moving forward. They just have to have 1 more year of meeting their goals. And their score would then still go up, even though they've already increased by quite a bit. So they have a goal for performance in all student groups, for growth in all student groups, for student success, which is for science and social studies and STAR performance, and then also TELPAS is also included. If they hit all of their goals, their Domain 3 score will continue to go up, and it will increase from a 79 to an 88. Remember, their score before was a 41, I believe. So they were already getting it up to a 72. Okay?
Just want to remind you that is for Domain 3, not overall. Delview's overall was a B this year. All right, so talking about the rest of the campuses. You left me too fast. We're moving into El Dorado. All right. Brandy says I have it, then I have it. Okay. So we're looking at El Dorado, same format that we just saw for Delview. What you're going to see there is their academic achievement, their growth status, and then their student success. So this is their current levels of achievement right here. And then you'll see what we have right here is 54 was the closing the gaps score. And then this campus also has goals for academic achievement component, and this is all at the MEETS level or higher. And then the academic growth component for those two, reading and math. And so what we're saying is that if they meet their goals, you can see that the El Dorado will go from the 54 and closing the gaps to an 83.
And unlike Delphi, this is their
first year. So first year of identification. So even if they meet their goals in the same way that Delview did, they will still have to continue a second year. And so sometimes that is a little bit difficult. Delview made a huge jump, and so now Delview is going to just have to maintain the progress that they've made, but they're on the right track and doing a lot of great work. All right, so we're looking at El Dorado's statement of strategy is very similar to what you saw for Wood, observation and feedback, and also looking at some RB's training, RB's research, I need to say research-based instructional strategies training. We're not talking about sandwiches here. So they're going to continue their work with us at the central office level as well. They're also involved in the quarterly check-ins for them to talk about their data in reference to their goals. And then they've also revised a form already that they're using with teachers to provide them in the moment feedback. So Jackson Middle School is, you'll see their data here. Again, this is for looking at their current levels of achievement. The reason why we also provide the sub-pops there is because we do have to track specific sub-pops based on their current levels. So you'll see Hispanic, Asian, and high focus for this specific campus. So Brandy already told you what the cut score was, and Jackson was at a 49. So some of their goals for this year, and these have all been submitted to TEA as well. And if all of these goals are achieved, you'll see that also Jackson can move from that 49 to an 82 in that domain. All right, so Jackson's overall strategy is similar to Ridgeview's, which is really nice when we have campuses doing similar things because then they can talk to each other about how they're implementing some of these practices. So Jackson is also looking at improving their PLC processes and also going to go through that RB's training with Region 20 and then provide teachers feedback on the research-based instructional strategies they're seeing inside the campus. So you'll see their milestones there. The focus is not just on ELAR and math here, it's on all content areas, English, math, social studies, and science. So that's a little bit different here, just due to where their score was. Now for the exit criteria here. So it's a little different, again, going back to state accountability, which is LEE. Campuses that is identified for state accountability can reset. So they don't exit CSI because they're not considered CSI. They reset, go back to the count of 0 if they have a domain 1 overall score of C or better. So this is different than the other campuses. So we're just providing you the data that Lee is using in their conversations with their teachers and their ILT of what they're going to be measuring their current levels of success against. For CSI, it's a little bit different. The way you exit for a comprehensive school is not ranking in the bottom 5% for 2 consecutive years. So again, Delview is first year for progress. At the end of the year, we're hoping we're celebrating our other campuses for having progress and also having a domain score higher than when they were originally identified. So for some of the campuses that you saw 50-something, they have to have, if it's 52, it has to be at least a 53. Can't have anything lower than when they were originally identified the 2 years prior. So for W, that looks like having a domain score higher than 51, and they're well on their way with the data that we have right now. El Dorado, we don't have that yet because it's a 2-year period as well as Jackson, but we're going to continue to monitor that. So again, this is the links to all of the plans that are there. Any questions? Does anybody have any questions for us or comments?
Thank you very much for that presentation.
You're welcome.
I'm sure there'll be some comment. I want to take a second and say thank you, principals and y'all's teams, for diving into this and really trying to do the work. I think for those of us sitting up here, when we ask about accountability and what people are doing every day, I mean, this is it. I mean, these are very detailed plans that a lot of people are putting some work in. So thank you all for committing to this. So with that, do I have any questions? Comments? Ms. Linder?
Echo the thank you.
One question I did have real quick, sorry, as you just sat down. I noticed on one of the previous, on the, the previous agenda items where we were talking about the TAPR report, and I know social studies was kind of sort of dipped from one year to the next. I think we discussed this previously as well, but I noticed that especially on the middle school portion of this. Is that a bigger focus area than some of the others, or is that equal?
It really depends on the campus, and the reason you don't see that at elementary is because we don't have that social studies test in elementary. It just starts in middle school. And then the difficulty in the 8th grade is because some of the tested standards are taught in 6th and 7th grade and not necessarily 8th grade as well. And so there has to be a lot of spiraling and scaffolding to make sure we're going back to that, but it looks like Dr. Schaefer's going to add to that.
Yes, ma'am. There's also a writing component, the shorter version. There's a writing component as well in social studies that's required, and that's newer in New Star, and so that's quite difficult. So that's something that we're working on every day across content areas, but specifically social studies. Social studies changed a little bit too, because we used to really kind of hang our hat on constitutional principles for like 25 years. This is my 28th year in education, and for 25 years we could count on principles being assessed, and it wasn't assessed the same way this year as we've been used to in the past. So we're getting some new normal, higher level of difficulty and writing in the assessment.
Good deal. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Ms. Chidgey?
Probably a company, I think, but FLIPS training, what is that?
Yes, thank you. That is a partnership with Region 20, and that's focused on the first lever of ESF, and the first lever is all about strong school leadership and planning. So they're going to come in and look at what do your instructional leadership team meetings look like, how often are you meeting with them, what does your calendar look like, are you calendaring out observations? So that training is given to us through Region 20, and it is a requirement for all of the first year campuses. The other campuses have already gone through that, and I've gone through it as well.
All right, other questions? Do I have a motion to approve the targeted improvement plans as presented to us?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Chidgey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Cox. Mr. Byer, aye. Ms. Chidgey?
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson?
Aye.
Ms. Villarreal?
Aye.
Mrs. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Landry?
Aye.
Awesome. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you all again very much for hanging in there with us and presenting all the information. I know it can be overwhelming, but we appreciate your efforts. With that, moving on to item C, consent. 1, instruction and campus administration. A, consideration and approval of contracts pursuant to HB 3372. B, off-campus physical activity agency certification for middle school. 2, business services annual comprehensive financial report for the year end June 30th, 2025. B, authorized representatives Lone Star. C, over 50,000 purchases. 3, minutes from December 8th, 2025. 4, end of consent. Do I have anybody wishing to pull an item for discussion? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve consent?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Villarreal. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Mr. Byer, aye. Ms. Chidgey?
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson?
Aye.
Mrs. Villarreal?
Aye.
Mrs. Cox?
Aye.
Mrs. Landry?
Aye.
Thank you all very much. Motion passes 6-0. Item 13, reports. A, interim financial and management reports. B, awarded bid report. C, federal grants report. D, open records request report. Those were provided to everyone. Does anybody have a question about any of those? All right. Item 14, discussion and possible action regarding board members' requests for items to be placed on a future agenda and or requests for reports from the administration. Do I have anyone who would like to request one? Mrs. Villarreal.
Yes, I am wondering, because I've been hearing some reports back about our new real estate program, and it's not sounding very cohesive. So I would like to get a progress report of some kind to tell me, what's going on with curriculum, which schools are, have it in their, what's happening with it. I would like updates, if that's possible.
And would you like that in an email, or how would you like that provided to you?
Well, I would really like the rest of the board to hear it, because I think it's an important program, but I don't want to see it fail, especially, coming out the door. I mean, would you guys like to, see what's happening with the real estate program?
So I'd like to, if we haven't, well, I guess first, if there's information where there's been concerns, had that been reported to the superintendent at the time?
Well, everything's been kind of up in the air and so I haven't been really sure who to go to.
What I might suggest is if you have those specific, whatever concerns have come, why don't we start with, or my recommendation would be, why don't we start with passing those along to Mr. Jarrett at this time, seeing if it is something's pervasive, if it's a one-off situation, and then depending on what this is, he can then provide us an update from y'all's conversation as to what the concern was and kind of what maybe the action was, and then if we need to, then come back with something larger discussion. Because I would prefer, my recommendation or my opinion would be, I prefer that if there is an issue with the curriculum, we go ahead and get that fixed, and not wait another month to then have a
Thank you,
presentation.
because I have been bringing this up to, I believe I brought it up to Dr. Micah.
Okay.
And then it's been a while back, but
Okay.
things did not appear to improve.
Okay.
And so I just have some concerns because it just seems like everything's just all over everywhere.
Okay.
It's just not, it's just not working.
I don't want to commit Mr. Jarrett's time, but maybe that's a good conversation for you all to have, and then get us a summary of what that is so that we can all
That'd
see
be
what
good.
that conversation was. And then if we need to bring that in the next month or whatever, then we can have a discussion about it, if you don't.
That's fair. No,
Okay.
that's fair. That's perfectly logical. Thank you.
Any other items? All right, seeing none, item 15, adjournment, and the time is 10:33 PM.